Hi. Let's just get this shit started. Game. Why does it try to do Netflix? Per usual. Everything's going great. So welcome back to us watching MatPat, watching FNAF, do FNAF stuff. Where we last left off, I wish I could tell you. It was over a month ago. I don't remember. 2 months ago. Because it was this one. And then we never watched part 2. It says I did, but I don't really remember doing so. No, it doesn't say I did. But I feel like I did, but I don't think I did. I really have no idea. And then there's another part that released yesterday. So, we're watching these 2 videos today. Not that one. This one.
Discover our best ever body wash.
Gotta love those ads.
Whatever modifications to it.
Alright.
Base level pay, though, because she's new to the company. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep. Sorry, there was just a moment where we're like, nope, this is getting too absurd.
Was that the moment that
Was
we
it
crossed
wait-
absurdity? Was that the... Just waiting for the choo-choo. Maybe that's what that is. Anyway, yes, John was in the process of solving things. He's going on about his theory where William Afton comes in and steals the Charlie bot and adopts it as his own weird robot child and then does whatever modifications to it to make it into the Charlie that we know and love today.
Does that
and
get you
or
caught up?
baby
Is
we
that
know
clear
and
enough?
read today. And there you have it. So without any further ado, let's let John speak for himself because we have 8 minutes left in this video, which will take us probably a good solid 50 minutes of screen time.
Yeah,
Sure enough.
Evan's kid. If you've watched any of my recent theories, you know that I believe this story is a parallel to Henry's story from the Silver Eyes trilogy. And after figuring out that
So this is talking about Edwin. Here, I'll rewind it so that way you can just like this feels like a good like starter place for you to be like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh surprise mimic jump.
Hi,
scare.
Tia.
That's
by
right,
now,
that was
I'm
great.
sure you've heard of the Mimic, an endoskeleton first introduced in the Tales books that was built to mimic whatever it sees. Here's a quick summary of the Mimic story from the Tales books. A guy named Edwin, who works as an engineer for Fazbear Entertainment, built this endoskeleton for his son to keep him occupied while he works. This endoskeleton was programmed to mimic anything it sees, so it started mimicking Edwin's son. After Edwin's son died tragically, the endoskeleton was still mimicking Edwin's son. So in a fit of grief and rage, Edwin beat up the
That
endoskeleton,
editing, man.
pouring his agony
edit,
into
though.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
the mimic
I
started
gave the notes.
mimicking what Edwin did to it, brutally
Should we full
killing
screen?
anyone it
Here's a question, and this is a question that I've been having since the moment I saw the mimic in the game and staring at his model.
That was the wrong button.
Just
Hold on. What have I done? Where is it? I can like see it. Oh, I fucked everything up. This is why I'm not allowed to touch stuff. There it is. Yeah, it's gonna be a Stardew Valley concert tour. No. No, I did not.
drives it further home. What is the flap of hair? He's got the mimic has two
You're
weird-
right.
The mimic has these 2 weird details. And again, in these games, right? You got to look at the small
Alright,
things.
we'll take a look at that later.
And he's got this weird flop of hair, black hair, and he's got this weird little chunk of meat flesh, weird
Just
little chunk of
the
fat
chunk
or
of cheek.
whatever.
It's
Yeah,
just cheek.
little cheek.
It's
cheeky
weird.
bone.
Chicken bone.
Chicken So what is it? What do you think?
I mean, if I were
This one in
to,
Boston? Yo.
if I were to just
Choose a
throw
Violin was
something
just in
out,
Boston.
Yeah, throw it out.
it is. I do think there was potentially a point in time where the mimic was like parading around as a person. I mean that's like Arkham's razor, like easiest solution. Like,
Arkham's razor.
I've done that so many times.
Arkham's razor.
I wasn't
Watch
gonna say
out! The
anything.
Joker's got a hold of a sharp
Yeah,
object.
sorry. Whatever.
Batman reference.
I can't, like, there's certain words in my vocabulary
fine.
now I can't say, but, you know,
Occam's
easiest
razor? Yeah.
yeah.
Occam's razor, yeah.
The easiest solution is the solution, and that seems to be the easy one to do. But also, what character has had black hair in the franchise?
Right, black string. So it would be black stringy
Cassidy.
hair
Mm-hmm.
and a cheek. So the cheek's not really helping us. What character? What human character has a cheek?
It's so rare to find cheeks these days.
I distinctive cheek. But those are again. Since
Cassidy's,
we're going
I
to
think, the
small
only person we know
details, right? And John
definitively
has
had
done a
black
good
hair.
job of over his security breach analyses, like done a really good job of pointing out some of the small details that have really mattered in these games. This idea of like this is a very important character. It's obviously designed in a way that similar to what the books describe it as. It's old, simplistic. The original Mimic in the books was designed using parts of an old like machine loom, old machine parts from a factory. So it was not originally designed to be a humanoid, or like it wasn't designed from like parts destined for humanoid use. Right? It was him tearing off like pistons and tubes and things to cobble together to this. And you see how rudimentary this all is. But like.
It's weird.
What? The hair
Little bit.
especially is weird to me. I like you going into the Occam's razor stuff of like, oh, it was a wig or it was putting on a costume in some way.
Yeah.
But like, and it's so specific because every time he jump scared me as I was running away, you see it flapping around. It is a very odd thing to include, and it's just weirdly attached there. It's only half of it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
What if the mimic's
I'm
Michael?
not sure, but that's another one of those where I'm like, that feels important in some way. Cobbled together. I think you're right. I think it might show
What
that
if
it's
this
trying to
is-
disguise itself as a human, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, to escape. Like, oh, I see
I know
a human
there'd
with
be a lot of
bits,
factors, but
that flap
this
on
is
its head, and
Michael's
bits over here and over here. So let me see if I can manufacture that, or I as a
second
robot
form.
do that sort of thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
Came into contact
Like
with.
sister
The main
location
way it
level,
would do this is by putting on
'cause he was
random
part
mascot
robot.
costumes and then ripping off people's limbs.
Those are
This
severed limbs, by the way.
endoskeleton was
Yep.
still mimicking Edwin's kid, but it was also murdering people at the same time. So
Yeah,
it was
dude, safe.
basically an evil robot
Detachable
version
limbs.
of Edwin's kid. If you've watched any of my recent
Now we're caught
theories, you know that I believe this story is a parallel to Henry's story from the Silver Eyes trilogy. And after figuring out that Scott is using the Silver Eyes trilogy as heavy inspiration for the games, that belief has only been strengthened. In the Silver Eyes, Henry built a robot that mimics his daughter Charlie. Henry then poured his agony into the robot and left it behind, only for William to steal it and turn it into what we now know as Baby. Baby was now an evil robot version of Henry's kid, just like the Mimic.
So real quick, this is another thing that's always kind of confusing. You don't see it as much in this shot.
Mhm.
Why do William and Henry look so much alike? In
This
the
story is a
character
parallel to
guide,
Henry's story from the
he's
Silver
different.
Eyes trilogy.
Well, yeah, and then in
Which
that
helps.
specific shot, he's
And
very
after
different.
figuring out that Scott is
but it's
using
always
the
driven
Silver
me
Eyes
nuts
trilogy
too
as
that when
heavy
you look at the
inspiration for
animations,
games, that
or sorry, the
belief
drawings
has only
from
been
the original
strengthened.
graphic
In the
novel
Silver
series,
Eyes,
the
Henry
two of
built a
them
ro-
are like identical. William Afton is slightly more gaunt, like he's got that like evil, I'm thin and evil kind of thing going
Sure.
on,
that mimics his
sharper
daughter
edges,
Charlie.
things like that.
Henry
But
then
they are very,
poured his
very
agony
similar.
into the robot
Henry.
and left it behind, only for William.
William.
Like,
yeah, it's same color
mean-
hair and
I mean, even here, you can see it like
Henry built a
in two
robot
very
that mimics
different
his daughter
shots.
Charlie. Henry then poured his agony into the robot and left it behind, only for William to steal
yeah, you're right.
They share a lot of similarities in a way that I'm like,
it and turn it
why?
into
I mean, he's positive before that
what we
could
now know
be
as Baby.
siblings.
Baby was now an evil robot version
Or
of
something
Henry's
like that.
kid, just like the Mimic. And I think a very similar version of this story happened in the games as well. I think Henry built this endoskeleton to mimic his daughter Charlie, but after Charlie's death, Henry left it behind, only for Afton to steal it and use it to help build what we now know as Baby. The main goal of Eleanor and Baby in the Silver Eyes trilogy was to look more human by stealing someone's identity.
Wait.
Left it behind, only for Afton to steal it and use it to help build what we now know as Baby.
But you're not saying it's the same endo, right? You're more saying he used like the blueprints of this endo and system to create.
The main goal
Oh,
of
we'll see.
Eleanor and Baby in the Silver Eyes trilogy was to look more human by stealing someone's identity.
It's true.
And I think this endoskeleton that was built to mimic Charlie also wants the same thing. It was built to mimic Charlie, but it doesn't look human. Just like the robots wanting to be human stories Scott's been telling us for years now, it wants to be human.
So here's going back to what we were talking about at the end of last time, and I think it piggybacks off of kind of what John's saying here, which is this idea of the repeating story.
Also, I feel like someone's pointed this out before.
But it doesn't
Aw.
look human. Just like the robots wanting to be human stories.
I've always thought this looked like this is Glamrock Chica, which would mean that Eleanor's running around at the same time as Security Breach.
Scott's been telling us for years now it wants to be human.
So here's going back to what we were talking about at the end of last time, and I think it piggybacks off of kind of what John's saying here, which is this idea of the repeating story or the cyclical story of these games.
History repeats itself.
You
fucking
have
constantly.
a robot, and if this mimic truly behaves like every other robot, or if this mimic behaves just like it does in the books, again, this goes back to the conversation that we started having was, frustrating, I think, is this the real life version of Ennard?
Right. Is that what Spaghetti Monster actually
I was saying
looks
this.
like?
Exactly. In a world
I was saying
where
this last time.
hey,
We were comparing this side by side. The legs. Hold on. So you've got the swirl, and you've got like the horizontal wires. You've got horizontal, you got vertical. Like the legs are, to a degree, similar. Similar. Oh, similar. On what I'm on right now. I mean, clearly there's a lot that isn't here, but
we're like John's calling out here, we're seeing a lot of we have an Edwin character and there's a Henry character that basically fill the same thing. You have a series where there's an underground bunker and shape-shifting robots and this and that, and you have this AI learning thing that's a conglomeration of a lot of things, just like you had with Ennard. To me, it's either retelling the same story, only this time they're doing it right, but like that feels kind of cheap to just recycle the same story unless there's an intent to it, which then goes back to my assertion last time of that's why, and I hate to say it, but my gut keeps telling me that, and the more I think about it, the more my gut keeps telling me that this is the real story and that the games are fictionalized versions of what this is, which is, hey, instead of having this weird AI robot conglomeration looking to disguise itself as a human and escape, let's fictionalize that for the games with a tangle of robot spaghetti where all the animatronics are mixed together with all these eyeballs and it jumps into human skin and escapes.
Right, and if you look at the model already, you're seeing that it's got different parts from different animatronics, which was the whole thing about Ennard 2, was that it was a bunch of different parts from all the other animatronics fused into one. You can even go to Candy Cadet's story about 5 things merging into one,
right?
Which 4 limbs and one torso and a head, so that's 6 or whatever. But
I mean,
nothing fits perfect.
I think you might jump the shark on that one, but I mean, but it is one of those things, right? You have what look to be
the
like
hands are weird.
Glamrock-esque fingers with the kind of pointy fingers that are specifically for playing guitar. You have these more rudimentary things. You have parts that are pulled. It seems like, and I'd have to go back and check, but it seems like you have parts that are pulled from different eras of animatronics.
That's what I was thinking too, especially with the I guess it's right, the left leg. Looks very similar to Endo 2. Yeah, no, that
this one looks similar to Endo 2.
Because Endo 2 had a lot of those just the, how do you describe it? They just had
the rings.
The rings,
the
rings. The weird rings.
Yeah.
And
it's it's not perfect.
But it's an updated design, right?
Yeah, I mean it's what Scott always does.
But it's
it's
5 years later.
Similar enough that you're like, oh yeah, I could see the two of them, right?
Yeah.
There it is with kind of like the edges, and you have the same bolts up the top and whatever, right?
Yeah.
You have the Glamrock, like the hand is very clearly a Glamrock hand. You have maybe the rings, not so here with Endo 1.
Yeah, Endo 1 kind of has the same thing going on too.
I mean, Endo 1 was just a bunch of like very specific parts, but
the head kind of looks like Endo 1.
Totally. Oh wait, I spelled what is it? Eclipse. There it is, Eclipse, and it's he's Eclipse now.
His keyboard sounds nice.
Here's another fun one. Ready for this?
No, but I never am.
Oh god, I screwed that one up. Oh, fine. Do this. I don't know why I was doing that. There you go. Where am I going with this? Here we go. Oh, I can't zoom in, can I? No!
Oh.
Hit C full.
Where's that at? There it is.
Right, yeah.
Got it.
Oh.
It's.
Oh.
That's weird, right? This whole time, Eclipse has been bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
Eclipse has been bothering me for a long time because he kind of drives me nuts. I'm like, why?
And
Why
one
is
of
it
the
so
eyes
big?
is
And
red.
in our previous theory, where we talked about this, it was because he shows this duality that's in the programming. I think that's part of it, for sure, that there are competing
he was
interests or
Mimic one.
AI or something existing in the same body. You have a sliding spectrum of code all in there, and I think Eclipse was included in the game from a storytelling standpoint to show the duality, like half good, half evil. But I think what's even more interesting, and what I
He's all
think
lost.
is,
Yeah,
is
that happens.
even potentially frustrating, and goes again to what we were talking about last time with why does Eclipse have so much merch that you can collect
Like,
throughout
in
the game?
Yeah.
Because he's more related
It's
to
a
the Mimic
lot.
than any of us would have expected.
It's a lot of merch, which they pointed out last time, is that most of the security breach, well, most of the Ruin DLC collectibles are
Look
Sun
at
and
the
Moon.
teeth. It's all in the teeth. It's the only design that we've ever seen in the franchise where
That-
each
yeah,
individual
that's-
tooth is able to move and connect in. As far as
Wild.
I know. And again, like, I could be wrong. I haven't done like the fullest of research on that, but it is something that I noticed and something that jumps out at me and does not remind me of anything else in this franchise.
Do all the
Yeah, they've got the big teeth.
Glamrock animatronics
Uh-huh.
that we all fight against them? Are they all supposed to show pieces that we see in the Mimic?
Are
Because-
all the Glamrocks, yeah.
The head is from Eclipse.
Sure,
the claw arm, Monty.
Sure, okay.
Is Freddy the right arm? Is Roxy the leg? Like, you kind of see what I'm getting at, like putting
Yeah, but that
animatronics to each.
That's
each
interesting.
thing.
Yeah, this looks like a Foxy foot and this looks like a Bonnie foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it'd have to be old endos. It wouldn't be the new endos. I mean, Roxy fights
That
Mimic.
definitely looks like a Bonnie foot.
Yeah, right. It's absolutely a Bonnie foot. Or at least it looks
Oh,
like
we're
it
going
should
back
be.
to counting toes.
Counting the toes. These are all fan
Yeah,
renders,
they're all
unfortunately. That's one of the tricks of doing like a quick Google image search.
It's
But right,
rough.
like that is very clearly a bunny paw, and this
And
is very
that's
clearly a foxy like run foot.
Yeah, and
But I
then
don't have
the
help wanted
right arm,
downloaded.
Freddy,
Just
and
help,
so
have
the
help
thing
wanted
to see here
rotate
is
all the
that
galleries.
He's well. I mean, then that would just mean he's pulled these pieces from other, like replacement endos.
Right, but the Mimic is so much older than.
Right? Unclear.
Yeah, that is kind of the theme. It's unclear.
I mean, that's the game.
That's
Welcome to the game.
FNAF.
But yeah, that's. I think the connection to Eclipse is really interesting. It shows that Eclipse is actually much older than almost anyone in the franchise.
And at least, like, it's definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely taking him and like tying him to be an important piece.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Balloon Boy's always been kind of a weird outlier in all of this sort of
man.
stuff.
Bringing up Balloon Boy.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
Balloon
it's-
Boys, you got Balloon Boys freaking game. Balloon Boys arcade game in the secret room above the daycare, and you play the arcade game, and the end is
They
Eclipse.
don't have really anything else to compare, like, one-to-one with Eclipse.
It's true. It's obvious.
Let me just pull that up. Not that. FNAF Balloon Boy arcade ending. So yeah, you see here. When you play the arcade game, if you follow all like the glitches, you end up here. You freeze in the middle, and then like the sun stares at you. So like, which we don't really talk about because there's so much from that game that they never decided to fucking finish. So we don't know what's
Obviously an important character.
intended, what's
Yeah.
abandoned.
Doesn't fit in cleanly with anything else. You have your and again,
Well-
this goes back to why I'm like, why is he here? Why is he here? Why is he here? Because you got your 4 core band members, you got your stars, like they're in every game. Why include this random extra? In this
Yeah.
case, yeah, Balloon Boy, random extra. It's like I have no explanation for you, so I'm just gonna ignore you and all my.
I
considerations.
still think
Yeah,
he came from.
He's there.
Yeah, we're just gonna assume that he's there. It's fine.
I still think he had to have come from Sister Location,
yeah,
but that's
John
just
have
me.
to say, though.
What does John have to say?
Wants to steal Cassie's identity.
He wants
Need
to
more
steal
proof?
Cassie's
Because
identity.
For years now, it wants
That's
to
right.
be human. It wants to steal Cassie's identity. Need more proof? Throughout Ruin, you can find
Always.
these comics that Cassie reveals were drawn by Gregory.
Yeah.
These comics tell us that most of the endings that happened in Security Breach were not real and
Yeah.
were just made up in Gregory's head,
Yep.
including the Burn Trap ending. During the Burn Trap ending of
Now-
Security Breach, we
That is the most frustrating thing for me, is knowing that.
Really, the most frustrating thing.
Well, I was trying to take something away,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, the one cinematic ending
Yeah.
is
Also a cartoon.
Not canon.
they just went like, no. Stop that. Why would you ever think that?
Yeah. No.
Just because we
What's the
fully
point? Just do
animated it.
comics for all of them.
You mean the one cinematic ending that was also labeled the true ending
Yeah.
in the game files?
That's the
Yeah.
one.
No, why would you ever think that the thing labeled the true ending with the fully complete cinematic ending would be the true? Get out of here! It was obviously comic book ending number 6.
This franchise is gaslighting was so
It's
hard.
rough.
It is-
Franchise.
You're
It just
not wrong.
it just
No.
Yes, it is.
backtracks
That
and
is correct.
redacts
The whole
and
thing.
Mhm.
It's a toxic relationship.
Absolutely.
FNAF is a toxic relationship.
This is
I
accurate.
cry every night.
Sends me to sleep.
Mood.
And tells me I'm a good boy, but also punishes me. Says I did a good job today, but in the morning serves me gruel. Like,
Had to make a
yo-yos
weird.
back and forth, and then brings me up close and cuddles me, and then it sends me away. And it's like, no, stop with the head game.
Here, I answer this
FNAF.
one question for you, but I have
No.
25 more.
We see that Vanny was camping out down there helping.
Oh, speaking of that ending, sorry.
Yeah.
I saw this one on Reddit, which I thought go to the Game Theory subreddit. It's amazing. We're in the top 1%.
It's
We're
not
almost at
amazing.
800,000K, which is
Woo.
great.
Listen, I love
Um,
MatPat, but the
Where is
fucking
it? Oh, yep. Oh,
first of all,
I wore edible
this is
underwear
too
for
bright.
48 hours. That is a thing that I.
second of all, it's full of fucking 12-year-olds.
chose for content on my channels.
Oh man, that was fun to QC. Yes, I noticed this too.
When I
What?
watched it the first time, I thought this was. I'm like, huh, that's odd. And
What?
then seeing people actively like set them side by side, it's like, oh, that's real weird.
Yeah, no, and I had this discussion.
Cutscenes
What-
are expensive, yo.
Yeah, when I finished it, yeah, that's the exact conversation I had when I streamed it. Was just like, did they just reuse the animation? Like, I get it, man. Animation is expensive, but it's also what knowing this franchise, it's so specific, and it's how like it can't not, right?
It could be cost savings, because it could be. I mean, guess what? Disney Animation Studios made a heck of a business off of reusing their.
So
same
this
animation
is
cell.
the end of the true ending of Security Breach, where the blob grabs Afton as the place is burning down. And then this is the ending, the secret ending of Ruin, where the scooper is grabbing the mimic.
Movie after movie after
Well,
movie.
yeah, and I mean, like, anime does the exact same,
Right, of
like,
course,
especially the ones that are pumped out all the time. Like, it's a viable option as long as it's like getting the story across. But it's usually for like simple like walk shots, not an actual ending that you see, and that's the only
Right,
thing
and,
for me.
and exactly what this is.
Matt, I will
Flash
pay
is a
you
devilish
to put all your
hairdresser.
things in dark mode.
Well, we got somewhere, that's for sure.
I'm glad when I type in YouTube, this is the autoplay that happens. Yeah, here we go. Thank you, lol me twice.
Have some views.
Lol me twice. Fool me once, lol me once, shame on you. Lol me twice, shame on me. Okay, we don't have, I didn't even see that. I kind of want them side. Do we have a world where they're side by side? Oh, you're just doing the whole thing. You just put two together.
Okay, but boo.
Jump scare.
Yeah.
And then just died. And then he did.
Yeah, because it's not using the exact same animation.
No, it's
It's
different.
not. No, it's not.
No, so I don't.
It's not.
So looking at it now, it definitely isn't. It's definitely not just reused animation, or else it would look. Well, I mean, still could be, but I guess I'm less convinced that it is.
Yeah. It is a very interesting similarity, though. Tell you what.
Yeah.
Very interesting similarity between the two of them.
It's just proving that Burn Trap is the mimic. Got him.
Stop it.
And that the Tangle
It's a
is.
scooper.
Stop
You
it.
see the Tangle elsewhere, so it can't be.
Stop
Nope,
it.
It's a scoop.
Nope, it's not.
No, I'm sorry. Nope.
Also, now that I'm focused on details about the endoskeletons,
And
I'm
teeth.
noticing that even though this is Funtime Freddy's head, he's got an Endo 01 jaw.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right? Is that Endo 01 or Endo 02? But one of those
It's
two.
not fun time is the point.
It's certainly not a fun time.
I'm a real FNAF nerd. I am not a nerd enough to know the difference between, like, the endos that rarely show up in the game and what kind of teeth they have.
I think that's interesting. Right? How interesting is that? Why is the Tangle still in this game? That kind of frustrates me.
See-
It's like, for you, if you're frustrated by the fact that, like, they invalidated the true ending of the one cutscene, I think what's frustrating to me is I'm fine with them invalidating it, but for them to invalidate Burn Trap, but keep the Tangle
Yeah.
slash Blob. That's the Tangle's the new name for the Blob.
Yeah,
That to
that's
me is frustrating.
aggravating.
That's frustrating.
Absolutely aggravating.
Because if there's, if you're wiping clean the slate, all of it should go.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's still like weird snake hybrid thing
Yeah.
running around,
Because in Ruin, we see the blob. We do not see any evidence of Burn Trap. We see this location where we fought Burn Trap, but
yeah. So it's just
which could just mean he's
I don't know.
once again gotten away.
charging pod with a circular window on the front of it. In Security Breach Fury's Rage, Vanny's
Fucking-
lockdown takes place in a factory full of animatronic limbs and torsos,
Yes,
almost like Vanny
Yep.
is trying to rebuild something. And that thing that she's trying to rebuild is also being kept in a similar pod to Burn Trap.
Do we know if this is
See, I meant to point this out when I was playing Fury's Rage, but at this point I was so like focused and mad because I kept dying that I forgot.
Vanny's factory? Vanny's the boss of this level, but is it Vanny's factory?
I mean, so like fighting game logic, right?
Sure.
Whoever's at the end of the thing, that's generally their territory.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott World. Do they ever label it as Vanny's factory? I'm just curious. It's Paradise. Level complete.
Level stars.
Level start. Okay.
Also, you know how you were saying that
Yeah.
Afton and William look the same?
Uh-huh.
They also look the same as Scott in bed there.
Whoa! It's true.
That's true. So he might see himself very much as a duality.
He is, maybe he's Eclipse. Maybe Scott is Henry William is represented through Eclipse. The duality of man, yin and yang.
The
good and
duality
evil.
of man. What is a man?
I hear he's a miserable little pile of secrets.
But have at you.
Oh, you didn't have to throw anything.
God.
No, leave me alone. Stop throwing stuff, Dan.
But it's not Burn Trap, it's Eleanor, a version of Baby that's known for ripping off
Earn points toward your next trip. and
Gonna
get closer to
scream.
YouTube.
I miss that blocker.
their identity, just like the Mimic rips off people's limbs and I think wants to steal Cassie's identity. But how could this
Yes.
window be Baby if she was scooped in sister location?
Yeah,
and burned
alright.
off and
So
out?
he is saying they're the same?
Well, in the Tales books, it's revealed that the Mimic loves putting on costumes, just like you see in Ruin. But there's one specific costume that's been mentioned multiple times now, a jester costume, which is what Baby is. She's dressed up just like a jester. But the
She's got the shoes though, right?
mentioned multiple times now, a jester costume, which is what Baby
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just know he's gonna bring up the how she says in the sister location. I've learned how to pretend.
is. She's dressed up just like a jester. But the most recent time this jester costume was brought up, it was
I think that's tough. I think that's a tough.
She's got the
call.
shoes.
So
The jester and the clown they serve similar functions. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
but,
but
like,
clown
they
shoes are
are-
different.
Fairly different.
well, yes and no. So I agree it's a tough call to make, and the idea of circuses, carnivals, and jesters
Ugh.
are all different things. Jesters are medieval and
Yes.
serve like kingdoms and kings and like in that fantasy land. Clowns are more circus, and carnival can have clowns, but are not as
I fucking
strong
hate
of
this
clown. Like
franchise.
clowns are like a neutral.
I hate that one of my obsessions is this
Where they,
franchise. I
jesters
can't
and
control it.
circus, or the clowns. You know how they have that huge feud, and like the carnival is the hey, leave your weapons at the door. We're all friends here.
Yeah.
But I'll meet you outside.
Outside the carnival.
You can catch these hands.
I didn't realize carnivals had such inbuilt lore to them.
I know. It's hey, look, you scratch a little beyond the surface, and
I just associate them with rides that are gonna immediately.
Who will
kill
pay
me.
the two of you to
Rigged,
keep watching the video?
And rigged card games, yeah. So you're right,
Mhm.
and I agree that when it's Circus Babies Pizza World,
Yeah.
you think of clown, right? And you also think of clown with
Yeah.
rosy cheeks and this and that.
Yeah.
The one thing I will give him
The shoes.
are the shoes. Shoes with
Sure.
shoes with a little jingle bell on the toe. That is not a clown shoe. That is a jester shoe. I agree with that. Yes, Ash.
Would you also say that the pigtails kind of resemble the top of the hat?
A coxcomb, as it is. Coxcomb is the name of a jester's hat.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing.
What
He
is
did
such a
pick out
fucking
very good
nerd.
picture to represent the jester costume, in comparison with, but
I mean, jesters are synonymous with coxcombs.
Yeah.
Like in general, like I mean, if you look,
Yeah.
whenever you see jester, like that, there it is. Like I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that is
yeah,
baby's
that's baby's.
pigtails right there.
yeah,
I still do take a bit of umbrage of putting a jester in a circus,
circus.
but
that feels weird.
but I do agree.
Doesn't
that
feel
it's
that
totally
weird.
right.
You guys
That
are-
the braids.
That's when you guys
are
go in too deep.
coxcomb adjacent. It's true. No, I think
I-
the color of
I-
the
yeah.
jester.
It's
like,
costume
oh,
and
one's
the color of the
medieval.
jester costume.
He
It is
doesn't
true.
care.
And also,
Scott
I
doesn't
think I know where he's
care.
gonna go with this, which is so yes,
Mhm.
I wait for it.
I'm waiting.
The brain train is working. Hold on, let me take a sip of diet hair cedar.
Mhm.
There it is. Springlock suits. So in the most recent book, in the most recent epilogue, they call out the fact that that one of the costumes that the Mimic puts on, I believe it's the Jester costume, is a springlock suit, which is weird.
It's weird.
Which is weird because you're like,
That's
wait, lol, what? A springlock?
against the rules. Animatronic exception? Animatronic can't wear another.
Jester suit? Yeah.
Hold on. Is Eclipse a jester as well?
I would count it as
Yes,
more
I
of a
would say
jester
Eclipse
than.
is absolutely a jester.
Yeah.
Which again, Circus Baby's Pizza World is not a circus. It's very. It seems like everything at this point is pointing to it being a medieval fantasy fair.
Ooh, medieval times.
It's a Ren fair. Circus, Ren fair baby pizza world.
Yield!
She's like, they're like jousting at medieval times over there.
Yeah.
That is what's
Yield Circus Baby Pizzeria!
Welcome, peasants, to Circus Baby's Ren Fair world.
I fucking hate
Your
circus
king will be with
babies.
you shortly.
With carnival themes thrown in for good measure. Generic broad spectrum. We don't know how any of this stuff
Yay,
is
be
together.
merry and happy.
Here's mead for all of you to consume alongside your pizza. Topped with mutton.
Matthew.
Wait,
It's just a turkey leg on a pizza.
thunk.
It's revealed that the Mimic
You wanted boneless wings? Bam! Turkey haunch.
Matt, this is why your
Haunch of
videos
meat.
watching 5
You're gonna
minutes
like
takes
it.
an hour and 20 minutes.
But there's one specific costume that's been mentioned multiple times now. A jester costume, which is what Baby is. She's dressed up just like a jester.
Again,
Debatable.
they're mixing. It feels like if this is all leading into there's jester outfits and jester springlock suits. Sure, it can be in Circus Baby's Pizza World. It does, but like it feels like
I mean, I've also been saying for ages that we need to talk more about the springlock suit in fucking Sister Location. What's the springlock suit? It came from one of Baby's. She says from one of my old pizzerias. Where this is the first place we're meeting Baby. So is there a soul in her that is older? Is there another Circus Babies we don't know about?
there needs to be
A bit
It's been,
more.
it's been
location
bothering me for
before
years.
All of that, which is
What
William
fucking
Afton's
springlock suit
medieval
is there?
land, medieval plex, and then he repurposes them into whatever. Like
There's a lot.
But the most recent time this jester costume was brought up, it was revealed that it isn't just a normal costume,
So I
it's a
can't.
springlock suit.
it was. I'm glad that John and I are on the same wavelength. It's interesting how much John and I are.
Or
kind of
just
on
my
the same wavelength
reflection
with
on my
a lot of
phone,
this
who
stuff.
knows?
He's getting a good sense of what clues jump out because yes, 100%. This was weird. I'm like, wait, hold on. The jester suit's a springlock. You don't just toss that around lightly. That's
Yeah.
weird. 100%.
A jester
Yeah.
springlock costume that this mimic endoskeleton has put on and walked around
Yep.
in. Charlie describes springlock suits in the Silver Eyes by saying, quote, I think they were costumes. Sometimes people wore them, and sometimes my
That's an interesting
father
way of-
put them onto the
That's a good quote.
It's an interesting way of phrasing it.
Because when I think of springlock suit, I think of suit. Calling them costume in the book, that's interesting. That's good.
robots. Springlock suits can be put onto endoskeletons. And if this book is really hinting that Baby is a springlock suit, that would line up with what we see at the end of Ruin. This is Baby's endoskeleton. Just
I hate everything that's happening.
Huh. Huh. That's a twist. That's Baby's endos. Okay, you got my attention. I feel like I have something to say, but I don't.
I understand
So
it, but I
I'm
hate it.
intrigued.
Hold on.
Oh, Dan has something to
Okay,
say.
hold on. So
That's interesting.
let's playing through this. FNAF 6, right?
Yup.
The four threats are Molten Freddy, which is entered.
Sure.
Yep.
There's Scrap Baby.
Yep.
That is Baby, and then you have Afton, and then you have the
Scrap Baby, which is a different fucking baby than this baby.
puppet. We see what could be Molten Freddy in the Tangle.
Yep.
See what could be Molten Freddy. Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like sure. Let's
Yeah, yeah.
just for the sake of this thought experiment here.
Are you
Babies.
still rolling with my like none of it was real and now we're seeing
No,
like, real
I'm
versions of it?
gonna
Babies
play
in the
around-
Tangle.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So
Okay, leave it
so Tangle exists.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and say Burn Trap did exist. Just that wasn't the true ending, and he's just not activated or whatever.
Okay.
But Burn Trap also exists. That would leave the puppet and Baby unaccounted for. Puppet, we kind of see throughout the
Babies.
marionettes, plushes, and through the wires. So potentially the pizza play.
Sure.
Which would mean Baby is not accounted for. So to say Baby is the
Isn't her mask in the Tangle? Am I making that up? Images. That's certainly a picture. Yeah. No, her mask is in there. It's not lit, so maybe he's arguing that her soul isn't. Because that was the theory, is that both the puppet and baby's souls aren't present, whereas all the other eyes are lit up. But her mask is there.
The mimic might not be as twisty as we might think.
Sure.
It's a huge stretch. Like, it's a huge stretch, and it does. The implications are not fun, right?
I do wonder about the
Nothing
implications of it all.
is ever fun.
I'm very intrigued. I'm
Yeah.
very interested. Baby has 5 fingers. Count the fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, look
Okay.
at the
What?
tips of. No, go back to the mimic. You had it right. Look at the tips of the mimic.
The tips.
The fingertips.
Those fingertips. Do I have a better? No. Okay, fine. Here. Click.
People.
See full. There we go. Okay, fingertips. What about them? They're like nubbins.
The nubbins, and I'm wondering because if you look at babies,
She's got nubbins.
she's got nubbins.
She does have nubbins. She's
It's
got those nubbins.
It's just a question of is that because well let's look at Scrap Baby because Scrap Baby would make more sense to look at than Baby.
Scrap Baby is going to be fundamentally different though because Scrap Baby is just a tangle of wires. Because remember,
And Scrap
the
Baby,
endoskeleton of Baby
well,
in the final version of Sister Location
had
is
like
just a tangle
lobster
of wires.
claws.
Like really, because
Yeah. I mean, I only bring that up in the fact that that would have been the version that would have been burned and put underneath. No, it's immediately thrown out because of the law.
I mean,
Well, no, maybe not.
wait a minute. Here.
But yeah, it is just a lot of. But look at the leg.
Yeah, what about the leg? Talk to me about the leg.
In
Dan.
I mean, does it look similar to
No.
The leg of.
the mimic?
No.
I mean,
No.
I would say no.
No, I would say no.
Genuine question.
Yes to a lot of
Which
things,
lore
but
story do you
that
think is more
doesn't-
complicated, FNAF or Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts?
okay.
I
guess that's
legitimately
kind of-
don't know.
I guess that's what makes it hard because
Mostly 'cause I don't know a lot about Kingdom Hearts.
These are not.
From what I used to know about Kingdom Hearts, which was the first couple games, probably Kingdom Hearts. I think Kingdom Hearts should be more complicated.
Like these are the actual representations of what happened, like Sister Location.
Oh, I know.
It's a
That's
false
why I
story.
stopped
So
playing.
the one thing I would challenge. If this
I only
is
played
Baby's
one.
endoskeleton, the
But I used to be in a fucking. Alright. Now I need to see if I can find it. Fucking. We were a group in anime club. We were that kind of anime club that, like, used anime names in the anime club. Even just, like, in our group around school. So, like, I was Renji from Bleach because that was my favorite character. But almost everybody else went by, like, all the names from the organization that I can't think of right now. What I do remember comes from this shit. What? Where's the sitar? This shit. Have you seen these? Cause this is like OG. These are not 6 years old. That's a re-upload.
Is recording? Oh god, I think it's recording. Hey there, you guys are looking lively.
It's a whole.
I know how to make cookies. I can tell you.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I'm gonna send this to you, and you can watch them because I don't want to like get too copyright. Where are you? There you are. Watch those. Anyway,
I would
that's
challenge.
too much of my
because
high school
you
life
see
we
it-
don't need to talk about.
I'm just trying to think of if this was Baby's endoskeleton, was it
What the
broken
fuck
apart
is-
and
what-
then pieced itself back together?
what have
with
I done here?
All these random
Oh.
parts. Because
Okay.
yeah,
I'm-
sure, he's got 5 fingers. you could probably make it fit or whatever. The feet feel weird to me though. Like, why would it have 2 random feet and then it becomes?
I can only think of the idea of like the only.
I don't think it's
pieces
baby's
from
endo.
Baby that maybe survived was like torso, head, and an arm, and then it rebuilt itself.
Yeah.
Because based off the story of the mimic mimicking everyone would have saw his creator engineering and creating other things at some point in time, so it would know how to rebuild itself
Fair.
Potentially,
if the need arrived.
That could be.
Like risen, arise.
Rosenend.
Man, I'm absolutely killing the English language.
You're crushing it. I'm really proud of
Crushing
you.
it.
You're doing a great job. Yeah.
That would line up with what we see at the end of Ruin. This is Baby's endoskeleton,
Okay.
just without all the wires in the shell that comes with the Springlock suit.
Which are little stuff.
Baby's Springlock suit would essentially be put onto this endoskeleton with the same eyes, teeth, and head shape as.
Ooh.
Same eyes, teeth, and head shape. Different teeth. So I mean, we just covered this with the clip. So definitely.
And I
different
guess.
teeth. Same eyes, teeth, and head shape. It's a bit stretchy.
It's a bit stretchy.
I'm still with you. I'm following you.
But
And
that could be
granted,
what
like,
this
certain
is
body
from.
parts can be swapped out
That
and this
cheek
and
they keep talking about could be.
Here, keep going.
I think people
Keep
forget
going, John. Keep going.
that
You
in
got
Night
this.
4 of Sister Location, Baby puts us inside a Springlock suit that has
Thank
face
you!
plates, just like the Fun Times.
See, but that is the one thing that I. So really, a Springlock. So you fundamentally have to change the way that you think about things. The Springlock suit is just the outer casing.
Empty.
And the endoskeletons inside can be anything. Because initially I'd be like, well, it can't be Baby because look at what the endoskeletons of the Springlock suits are. It's these tangled wires.
Yeah.
You can't think that way though. You have to think of the suit as
What's
just
in
like
there?
snapped into place over top of the body. So
But these aren't spring locks.
you could, yeah, okay. But you're telling me that this then is a Springlock.
Right? Boy. Blura. Animatronic humanoid. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're spring locks.
You're telling me that the outer casing of Foxy is a Springlock suit?
No.
I think we need to hear. I think we need to hear him out more.
Yeah, no, totally.
Sister Location, Baby puts us inside a Springlock suit that has face plates, just like the Fun Times. So the idea that Baby could be a Springlock suit isn't too far-fetched. But
Yeah, but the spring lock came from my old pizzeria.
then Baby got
Sure,
burned in
agreed.
FNAF 6. How could her endoskeleton still be around?
Maybe she never existed in the first place.
Because she says, you're in something that came from my old pizzeria. And it's a spring lock. So it's not any of the Fun Times.
But that's
That's
weird.
different. Yeah.
Well, throughout Sister Location, Baby is the main character, but we never,
We never
actually
see her.
until Night 5 when she's about to get scooped. She's
Which she
obviously
could be
not been
empty.
scooped yet because she still has all of her wires and is in perfect condition.
Unless you're saying her endo's out.
Because she has all over.
She's obviously not been scooped yet because she still has all of her wires and is in perfect condition.
I don't
Yeah.
think that. Well,
Which, okay, I'm still with you. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. But I see this and I'm like, that then is the endoskeleton there, isn't it?
Yeah, that would imply that that's the endoskeleton.
Because if in the I mean, maybe it's an earlier version of her like maybe the mimic is an early version of her endoskeleton.
so
But I
whenever
think-
we watch this scene, in my head, she's always the thing in the background. Which I know is Ballora, but they're all one being. They're already entered by this point. Because you go directly from this to the scooping room. It's like Circus Baby has already been here today. I have always thought of this shell as empty. And she just has you come in and get the chip because she wants the data for something. But I have always thought of her, like, internals are already out and entered. So when you
Yeah,
see
with
the
the-
wires
and
behind
look at
her,
the
and she's
design,
like,
Fun Time Collection
Ballora
just
is in
falls
the
in
room
love
with
that.
you. It's like,
And it's
no, you're all the same being
basically
right
what-
now.
it's the
You're all
same,
entered.
like weird sneaky coil thing
Yeah.
that game had for all the endoskeletons. So I see that detail and I'm like, oh, that is her endoskeleton inside the body. But
Yeah.
If she was already scooped, those wires would be gone. And
No.
But see,
I
you
don't-
see like the making of like a face and things under there.
Yeah.
This has always been weird to me. Baby in sister location has always been weird to me.
There's a lot
And
about
it's always
sister
driven me nuts
location.
because she talks to you the whole time and you never see her, and the one time that you do see her, she is shut down, and that is so
She's
suspicious,
empty.
and it's weird, and I hate it.
Mm.
I've always hated it that you never actually see her active as an animatronic.
has all of her wires and is in
Because she also says here, remember how I said I could pretend? I think she's pretending the whole
What I
time.
would say though is you
She's
would want
already
to go
in her.
back to the trailer. And here's the thing: retcons can do anything for you.
That's
Boy,
also
are
true.
there so many retcons.
We don't know what's
potentially.
retcons
There's
and
only
what's
one, man.
not.
There's only one. But here, so like,
I do love the original trailer.
you see her with this, right?
Oh yeah, doesn't her anger is restless.
These trailers were so legit. Trailers were so good. FNAF trailers were awesome.
They were really good.
So the eyes are different.
Yeah.
Again, maybe this is a quote unquote new endoskeleton, but if it's the possessed endoskeleton, I don't think. It works if you're using this stuff,
I'm so
right? I don't think like
confused.
because for baby to be possessed, it has to be the same endoskeleton because it's attached, like the soul or the spirit or whatever is attached to the endoskeleton. The endoskeleton here is different. The eye shape is different. You can see stuff that does not look mimic-esque.
Yeah.
Under
Yeah.
there. But I'm still. Here's the thing though. That's the original design. At this point, I'm willing to throw that.
We are
stuff out
so far
because
past
it's the
that,
era of FNAF, and we all
'cause it
know
was, like,
that
8 years
they're
ago.
constantly coming up with like new angles. So let's keep.
Yeah.
If she was already scooped, those wires would be gone, and her shell would be dismantled.
I disagree.
Other animatronics in the scooping room. But look at the way she's posed in this scene. She almost looks like the Golden Freddy suit.
Oh, get out of here! Get. It's not. She almost. Get out of here!
It's literally nearly an inverse.
I mean, the only thing. I mean, not even. It's really one for one. They just changed what hand is holding
The
the microphone. Like,
microphone.
look, the hand is like you would stick a microphone in that one, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I guess you could like you inverted kind of the hand control. Is this Scott saving assets?
See, that's another thing. That is as simple as just like
Damn.
move pose onto this.
Let's see. I'm making these games like one every 6 months. You know, I need to.
He was really this was when he was pumping them out.
I mean, this is like he
That's
took a
true.
little bit longer of a hiatus before Sister Location. It was
But
one.
he was
Sister
The
doing
first
Location-
four
world
were
in
like,
between.
I mean, there was always something.
yeah.
But you could see that. Now you can see this gets into the idea of like you're right. Golden Freddy's a spring-lock suit, and I've always thought about like, oh, he doesn't have his endoskeleton, which is why.
Go on, John.
the scooping room. But look at the way she's posed in this scene. She almost looks like the Golden Freddy suit. There's nothing to hold her up. She's also missing her eyes and teeth.
It is weird that she's
Yeah.
missing her eyes and teeth. That is weird. You see stuff in. Is that just the inside of the end? Like,
Yeah, I would say that's just like I'm okay
It's
with
weird
it
because
being
kind of implies that
there's
the,
just wires in there.
The tentacles are also part of the spring lock suit as opposed to the endo. As in the endo, it's like the endo is encased in the tentacles, which is then encased in the shell.
tentacles, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, right.
I don't know.
Like they're saying that they look like the endo's still in there. I disagree. I think it's okay to say that there's other wires and shit in there besides the endo.
But I agree.
Whatever.
I agree. It is weird. Again, this has always bothered me. Why does she not have eyes in this? Why is she a deactivated skeleton?
'Cause she's
Or a
empty already.
deactivated shell? That is weird.
The Golden Freddy suit. There's nothing to hold her up. She's also missing her eyes and teeth. She's missing her endoskeleton. She's posed like that because she's in suit mode. But if this endoskeleton wasn't in baby during sister location, where was it? Well, one notable trait about the Mimic is that it messes with technology. Essentially, wherever it goes, it can turn off lights and intercept radio signals,
Correct.
like it does to
Which does inconsistently at best. Let's
Yeah.
say. Like, I know that he's using the example of the flashlight, and I think we used the example of the flashlight in our episode too, because it's the strongest thing you got. But then you get chased by the Mimic through a bunch of tunnels that have lighting. Like
Yeah.
you know, all the lights are working in that tunnel, so you can't really, and we were able
And
to.
I'm pretty sure you can turn your flashlight back on at that point.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those things where it is very inconsistent in its execution on that. But yes, that is one of the established properties of the Mimic. So I agree.
Ballora Cassie in ruin. In sister location, it's our job to check on the animatronics and see if they're on stage. With Ballora and Foxy, even if they're not behind the glass, we can still see their stages. But when we get to Baby's room and we turn on the lights, we see nothing. Also, as the nights go on,
That was again. That drove me nuts. I thought that was just. Again, it could be for lore purposes, or it could be. I thought Scott went on record and said he just ran out of time or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought I saw somewhere though where it was like, I planned for more on those opening nights, but
Whoopsie daisies.
time is tricky.
Baby's room is the only room where the controlled shocks just straight up stop working.
It is weird.
Oh, circus baby, we aren't here to play hide and seek. Let's encourage baby to come out of hiding with a controlled shock.
She has turned everything off.
I think it's possible that
I think it's 'cause
the
she's
mission
not
that
there.
reference in Baby is now being held in this room, the circus gallery. Need more proof? It's
Yeah.
a pretty popular
Yes.
theory at this point that the pizzeria Henry uses in FNAF 6 was also Fredbear's Family Diner. People say this because
What?
the secret images of the alley.
What? No. Oh. I know. I guess what he was about to say is correct, because this is from Pizzeria Simulator. No, but that's also in Pizzeria Simulator. What? What? Where? What is he supposed to do?
Way in FNAF 6 looks similar
Hold
to
on.
the circus gallery. Need more proof? It's
Yes.
a pretty popular theory at this point that the pizzeria Henry uses in FNAF 6 was also Fredbear's Family Diner.
That's not what. No. It's pizza place. It's what's under security breach.
People say this because the secret images of the alleyway in FNAF 6 look similar to the alley where Charlie was killed. Also,
I
the gameplay
guess.
of FNAF 6 is literally about upgrading an old
There he is.
pizzeria.
There's the guy.
Let's do another
Yeah.
Doggo collab. Can I eat another egg, Ash? I need more eggs in my life, more protein.
Charlie was killed.
What?
Also,
I
the
mean,
gameplay
it's also like
of
it's
FNAF
an
6 is
alley.
literally about upgrading an old
Alleys are
pizzeria and
alleys.
turning it into what we see in Security Breach. Now in Ruin, we see a cutout of Fredbear directly under the FNAF 6 pizzeria, which only strengthens the
It's a
theory that
weird
they're the same
place.
building.
But
We see a cut. That they're the same building, or that they're built on top of each other.
That's a big question.
I would
Because
argue more with built
they
on top of
really
each
love
other,
Building things on top of things.
because the end of Ruin, you go below where Burn Trap was. Where Burn Trap was, you go through Pizzeria Simulator, right? Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. Now, under that is the secret floor, or like the maintenance floor, whatever the fuck it is, where Burn Trap is and where Henry has all the fire installed. And then under that is more stuff.
Man, well, I mean, when you got it,
So I would
land is
say
expensive, Dan.
I
don't know
agree.
if you're aware, but land is expensive.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
So-
diner
so
could
all
be
of a
under
sudden,
there.
your
It does
restaurant
go
brand-
from, and I noticed this when I said it when I was playing Ruin. It goes from like metal to wood. It definitely looks even older.
franchise is being dragged into public consciousness. You gotta knock that puppy down.
I'm
Build
freezing.
brand- You gotta still use that
I don't know
land.
if you can tell.
Build on top.
Yeah.
Up.
My hands
more
hurt.
kids.
Yeah, but
Pop, knock it down. Build on top.
See, the thing is,
Then on top again.
So would that be
Oh,
diner,
always on top. Keep knocking
Pizzeria
them
Sim,
down.
it always looks like they never like
Security
knock it down.
breach.
They're just like, do you know what? Let's just build like a bigger foundation, just cover it up.
Yeah, it's true, actually.
Oh, you know what? Let's get an even bigger foundation.
All right, build the platform where the new one's gonna be built. Fill it up with dirt.
It's also not how
Get it
phones
back in the
work.
dirt.
What's it like? Did the first one start in like a sinkhole, and then they're like, we can get this better. Let's even it out a bit.
Construction and stuff, man. You
Yeah.
know?
What do I know?
Just reused and upgraded the building he already owns. Why is this important, you ask? Because on the map in sister location, we can see Fredbear's Family Diner, connected right to Baby's room.
That is yeah.
What?
That's
What? Water. I'm lost. What? Just to clarify, this is usually this is the FNAF 4 house on top of sister location. So I don't know where this shit is coming from.
Used and upgraded the building he already owns. Why is this important, you ask? Because on the map in sister location, we can see Fredbear's Family Diner, connected right to Baby's room.
What?
that is yeah. That's a great point and
What?
is very strange. 100%.
What?
Sister location, we can see Fredbear's Family Diner, connected right to Baby's room.
Okay, sorry. I'm gonna need a little bit of clarification.
Yeah, me
Sure,
too.
Is that Freddy Fazbear's Diner?
So this is the FNAF 4 map.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
here's,
okay,
here's
yeah,
the two.
I see it
all
now.
The animatronics are the individuals. So the squares are animatronics. So you had Golden Freddy,
Freddy's
Golden Bonnie,
Bunny.
boop, boop, boop. And then in true FNAF form, with inconsistent logic, this is the path that Crying Child takes to
Takes
get
him
back
back
home.
home.
This is his living room. This is the room with the grandfather clock. This is his bedroom. This is his sister's room.
Right.
Oh. Yeah, I guess.
Okay, I see it now.
So it's
Yeah, I see.
weird, but yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
It's
And
something.
meanwhile, here you have
That's like the FNAF 1 location.
this is
maybe?
well, this is all FNAF 4. This is FNAF 4 bedroom sequence, which is
I see.
here's the closet, here's the kitchen, I believe, and then here's the hallways, and then this is the
the
night plush trap.
The plush trap.
Plush trap at
room.
the end, and then plush trap.
Yeah, but this part I don't get. You're saying he's literally next door? And this little building is the diner? I don't know. man.
Connected to sister location.
Got it. We didn't really talk about that in our theories, and so I was just like, huh. All right.
Right.
Created the building he already owns. Why is this important, you ask? Because on the map in sister location, we can see Fredbear's family diner, connected right to Baby's room, the circus gallery, the same room that I believe the Mimic was being held in. This explains why we find the Mimic trapped in this specific area. It was being held in this part of the sister location bunker, forced to wander between Fredbear's and Baby's room.
But she's found in the alley.
Who?
Scrap Baby, right?
You're talking Scrap Baby, which again, I like. I think what you have to assume is that there might have been multiple endoskeletons.
Yeah.
Because this is not the tangle of wires. That would be Baby. It would be this other thing, and it would have been possessed in this. And that. I think again, this all seems to indicate, like, to me, that all the games are just games inspired by real events, and these are there are real events.
I think this room specifically was trying to remind us that
Every
Scrap
time I
Baby
mute
and
myself,
the
it does
original
this,
Baby
sorry.
are two separate things. Scrap Baby was Elizabeth with green eyes. The tangle of wires and the
Wait,
shell
wait,
that
wait,
belonged to the Springlock costume itself that eventually got scooped and turned into Scrap Baby. But the robot that was inside Baby, the Mimic Endo, is its own thing, separate from Elizabeth, represented by the blue eyes. I think
That's interesting. I want to hear that again.
remind
That's
us
a good point.
that Scrap Baby and the original Baby are two separate things.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like it is.
Three
They're showing
eyes.
you they're two halves of the same whole. This one's missing this eye. This one's missing this eye.
You know, it plays around with the eclipse.
And one's
duality.
scrap and
Right,
one's
so
not.
yeah, it's constantly this duality of good versus evil, and like two halves of the same entity. Keeps going with
So
it.
yeah, that's original Baby and
was
Scrap
Elizabeth
Baby.
with green eyes. The tangle of
Yep.
wires and the shell that belonged to the Springlock costume itself that eventually got scooped and turned into Scrap Baby. But the robot that was inside Baby, the Mimic Endo, is its own thing, separate from Elizabeth, represented by the blue eyes. I think it's important to say that this Endo has obviously swapped out a lot of its parts
Talked a
over
lot
time,
about
this,
and
yeah.
can also shapeshift to literally fit itself into any costume in the books. So if some physical features and the scale of the Mimic don't 100% match, the Endo
Yeah,
can literally
I mean-
shapeshift. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
So
it's-
what are these
I get
mascot
it.
costumes? Well, like I said before, these mascot costumes were first introduced in the Twisted Ones to foreshadow Circus Baby's Pizza World. We even get a description that sounds just like one of the costumes we see in Ruin. One of the costumes was, quote, a massive contorted bird-like creature with a wide curved beak.
Okay.
Yeah, I could go with that.
I mean, it's a bird.
contorted bird-like creature with a wide. Yeah, sure.
These
Yep, it has
costumes
wide
were
beak.
meant to foreshadow Circus Babies, and Circus Babies was definitely a William Afton thing, so they could be made by William. I mean, the Mushroom Cave was revealed to be William's secret bunker in the Twisted One, so that would make sense. But in the fourth closet, Charlie finds a book in Henry's workshop. This book was about the history of the traveling carnival and of the circus.
The books are interesting, and we talked last time about how there's so much backstory and so many books at this point to keep track of.
Yeah.
That it's really hard to go back. And the frustrating thing is, and I think John gets this, like, for visual purposes, it's easy to show the graphic novels because the graphic novels have a lot of good. They work well for video.
Yeah.
You're able to see a lot of details that only get described in
Yeah.
books, or maybe don't even get described at all, but you're getting context, right?
Yeah.
But in the books, there's a lot more narration and a lot more detail written into the world, and each of the three books seeds in so many random lines that when I first read through the books, it was like, that's a clue, that's a clue, that's a clue. And you look back to the theories that we did on that original trilogy, you're like, oh yeah, they talk about the weird scrape marks on the ground of this thing, and nothing ever comes of it. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just a random detail that the books decide. Like in Henry's garage, there are scrape marks on the ground, you know, from pushing, or like, oh, I wish I had the right screwdriver to open these screws, but I don't. It's a mystery. Like, there seems to be a trapdoor here, or whatever. A lot of things that, and so really, what we should all collectively do as a FNAF theorist community is go back and read the Silver Eyes and Twisted Ones, the full novel versions again.
Hey, if someone buys me them, I'll do it.
Yeah, okay.
Because
I love when games give me homework.
Buy me,
it gives
buy
you
me
like like even back when I
Find me the
predicted that
physical
Charlie was
form.
gonna be a
I will
robot,
highlight.
or that Charlie was a robot before the fourth closet launched, because in Twisted Ones they make mention of, oh, just human arms and legs flopping around this pizzeria. You know, like, oh, she was suddenly surrounded by these random floating human arms and legs, and I'm like, robots, human robots, and then Charlie was that. I figured that one out, and now 10 years later, it seems like
You
I'm
say
like,
it again,
I
they're
say it
like-
again. I'm like, I forgot about that, but yeah, I did.
Yeah.
that was a thing.
Good job.
Thank you.
Killed it.
Thanks. But yeah, so is it Henry's house or is it William's house? That's interesting about the carnival. That's really interesting, and that's one of those details that again, like, removed from context, like, oh, but going back, it's like, oh yeah, that is a clue.
So we know that Henry also had a fascination with the circus as well. It was also revealed that the cave and facility where the costumes were found was built under Henry's house. So it's also
Under Henry's, right?
Yeah.
That was the thing.
possible that these costumes were some of Henry's first creation.
Which was always weird to me when they started to reveal that sister location was under Afton's house, which
Yeah.
means maybe it wasn't Afton's house. I've always, you know, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is
I
certainly
guess we'll
weird.
have to wait and see. I think Help Wanted 2 is going to pick up right where we left off in Ruin. I mean, the
I think
ending
it's
of
gonna be
Ruin
pretty cool,
has
but
an elevator falling to the ground. The trailer for Help Wanted 2 has the sister location elevator falling to the ground. I think we already saw in Ruin that the digital world and the real world are merging, and Cassie is struggling to know what's real and what's not. I think this is going to be the theme of Help Wanted 2, along with visiting the sister location bunker and Circus Baby's Pizza World.
Yeah, I think it kind of has to be a prequel based on how it was operated and things like that. It doesn't feel abandoned or out of use in the way that it did in Sister Location. And I think
Yeah.
if you were to continue the story from where you are now, you would it would be older. It wouldn't be as smooth. You would have the, like, you know, you see it opening and you're not seeing any of the, like, yellow tape or like caution tape or,
Yep.
or things.
And there would be no
That's why I
gameplay.
think it's a prequel that's
Like-
setting up Mimic what Cassie experiences down at the bottom. And I think it's actually explaining this ending.
I know
I
God, I
don't
hope so.
narratively, I don't hate the idea of Ruin ends with an elevator drop.
Yep.
And then Help Wanted starts with an elevator opening.
Yeah.
Almost just kind of
Yeah.
like the
It's-
drops
okay, yeah.
should like transitions into the smooth opening.
Sure.
I like that as a past reveal.
Well, it's also one of those things too, where if the Easter eggs that he called out last time were welcome to the, or teasing what, Carnival?
Yeah.
Do we leave something in here to tease Carnival? I don't think that's forward in time. Like if the next game that Steel Wool is working on, which is Help Wanted 2, because they did it in conjunction with Ruin, if the next game they're working on is Carnival themed, that wouldn't be happening after the events of Security Breach Ruin. It would be happening back when Circus Babies was open.
Yeah.
Carnival, circus, jester, whatever.
Yeah.
And so Help Wanted 2 then is exploring that world. I would call that the carnival or the circus.
Yeah.
A lot of you probably think I'm insane, and there's going to
No,
be a lot
actually-
of angry tweets, but
No,
I'm
no,
not
this has
taking
been-
any
this has
chances
been
anymore.
solid.
I
We live in a
wish.
world where Scott and Steelwool took almost every single ending in Security Breach, even the fully animated one, and said none of that was real. So anything is possible, and I'm trusting these books to tell me what's going to happen next. And I guess we'll just have to see later this year if I'm onto something or if I'm dead wrong. There's still a ton of
Yeah,
things
when
in
does
the
that come
game,
out?
Like who is Cassie's dad and what's the deal with the scooper? So look forward to more theories in the future. Please remember
deal
that
with
this was just a theory. Do your own
What game's
research. Come to your own
game's
conclusions.
it?
Don't take everything I say as canon, and I hope you enjoyed. See.
December. Bro, am I playing Help? Well, I can't. I mean, unless the flat version comes out. I was gonna say, can I play Help Wanted 2 for my birthday? Birthday stream?
See you at the circus.
Ha!
Two.
Well done.
That was a great sign off.
Well done. Well done.
I
Slow clap. Actually, it's more of a mid-range clap.
more like a golf clap.
Now clap in half. See, that's a man who gets it. Well done. You know, you get a clap in half for a clap in half. Nice, good job. Well done.
How embarrassing would it have been if I went, no! No! What have I
You
done?
give yourself a half clap. You're like,
I don't think I could ever do the
"Oh,
clap in half.
no,
I'd
sorry,
be like
you said no."
compelled to finish it.
So here's, well, first off, I want to say, overall, I really like
This is
theory.
fantastic.
I-
This
I-
is fantastic. I love this.
Yeah,
I think it might be the best theory he's done.
I think pulling the parallels from the books, as annoying as it is for me to like hear that, oh, Scott might just be recycling some stuff.
That is pretty funny. Scott was really happy with those. He's like, those books never got the attention and credit that they deserve, so I'm gonna shove them down your throat.
Honestly.
again."
I do really like the parallels that he's pulling.
Yeah.
And I do
Really
think,
good.
I do think that the idea of the third book
Where's
also dictating
today?
what might
There it
happen in
is.
Help Wanted 2. Of course, we're not going to know until that comes
Right,
out,
of
but
course.
I do think, as far as like maybe what we should prepare ourselves for,
Yeah.
I like how that hits.
And also, you mentioned last time, like, oh, wouldn't you do it as a trilogy around Security Breach, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of is, because Steel Wool is doing, like, they're responsible for all those games.
Yeah.
It is coming out very closely after the release of the last DLC.
Yeah.
And it does feel very intentionally packaged together in a way that a lot of other games in the franchise.
Yeah, everything got like released at the same time. It was like Who needs frames? You good, internet? Okay. Looks like it's stabled out at 3,106 frames dropped. I was gonna say something, now I've forgotten. Oh, that everything was getting released at like the same time. 'Cause it was the FNAF movie trailer. Yeah, no, it wasn't just you. It was like fucking. As always, there's at some point where someone turns on a TV somewhere or something and my internet decides to fuck itself. It was the movie trailer, it was the Help Wanted 2 trailer, and then the Ruin DLC. It all came out like within a couple weeks, I believe. 'Cause I remember going, what is happening? Alright, so we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna throw up the be right back screen. I'm gonna run to the bathroom. And then we're gonna. Where is it? We're gonna do the other one. Bring it up real quick. And yeah, we'll be right back. Alright, kids, let's keep going. So this is a new theory, whereas the last theory was part 2 of Is Baby the Mimic. This is switching gears completely. Oh boy.
Stands out from the rest. Fredbear's signature.
Yeah!
I actually really liked how MatPat interpreted this poster in his timeline videos. This poster is obviously
John, man, excellent taste. FNAF, John.
Alright.
Let's actually start it. It contains flashing lights. Viewer discretion is advised.
There you go.
Appreciate that. Oh wow! Hold up. What? This is already interesting.
What?
That is a great model. Holy cow!
No, I hate it. Like, it's great, but I hate it.
What channel am I watching right now?
John's.
Yeah, John, what? What?
It is. Wait, which John? FNAF John? Yeah. Oh wow, this is great.
This is
John
very
went hard,
different.
Apparently, John's like, I learned Blender and I'm gonna show it off, or I found an editor who knows Blender, or something. Man, I went on Fiverr and found someone to do this.
What is happening?
This is great.
What is happening?
What? It's so cool. Oh, legit. This is a very
John.
different cry from the like
Stick
let me
figures.
grab an emoji PNG, not cut out the edges, and just slap it on a couple of things and keyframe it around. Very different. That's a very dramatic opening. I love this. This is exciting.
It
Here
was
we go.
spooky. I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't like it.
It's become clear that Five Nights at Freddy's was never supposed to end. Game after
I mean-
game, Scott Cawthon couldn't help but tease that the story wasn't over, despite us believing that each game would be the last.
Right? People give theorists, though, I will say this, people give theorists a hard time about, like, oh, they're always solving it, or oh, it's the final thing, or whatever. Look at what franchise. We're just taking the cues from the franchise itself, right? Like,
I mean, if you want to be real specific, ultimate time. All right, this is what I need. Let's see. Salt, Why FNAF Will Never End, 8 years ago. Not wrong. But he used to do. It was like. There we go. 5 years ago. The Final Theory. Oh, there's some like gameplay ones in here too. Final timeline. This is the end. Like, this went on for ages. Now I'm not gonna find anything, but. And he would say it at the end of each, or at the beginning of each theory, like, oh, I told you this was the last one, but here we are.
someone tells us it's the final chapter, we believe them, then it's not.
Yeah.
And then Scott's just taking that cue from, like, the Jason Voorheeses of the world and the Nightmares on Elm Streets of the world, right?
Yep.
Where it's like, oh, it's the final chapter of Friday the
Can't
13th.
come up with an original IP.
There's like
It's
10
against
other
the
ones
rules.
where they reboot it or whatever. That's a theory right there. Right? Scott learning from the horror franchise and then rebooting it after 3 or 4. There it is.
But then Pizzeria Simulator and Ultimate Custom Night came along, and that actually
I did say for a while that Security Breach was a reboot. But who's counting?
was the end, at least for Scott's games. But that doesn't mean that those last 2 games didn't tease that the story wasn't over. I think they did, whether Scott intended them to at the time or not.
I understand the words that you're saying, but this is like one of those times where I'm like, Wario's 10 feet tall. And it's like, yeah, the words make sense in a sentence, and the dad is like, oh, I understand the concept of Wario being 10 feet tall, but you don't stop and actually think about what you're actually saying, and it's like, oh no, a human being would not be 10 feet tall, that's crazy. This is one of those where it's like, Scott was teasing that the franchise wasn't ending, whether he intended it or not. And it's like, well, no, you can't really tease something as an ending without you not intending it, you know? Like, you can retroactively do that, but to say, like, he was doing this without actually realizing he was doing it, disagree. So, I hear what you're saying, and I think I know what you're going for, but it is
Strong
one of
start.
those- It was over, right?
I believe Scott
And then you just basically you're backfilling. It's the retcon thing. It's the retcon thing that everyone keeps talking about in this franchise, where Scott at one point said, I've only retconned things once, and then he put out that Reddit post, and people were like, he's only retconned things once, and since then, he's like, oh, I'm gonna do all this other stuff.
Scott has been dropping hints about where the current story is going for years now. This
Sure.
theory is a wild one, and and I promise you don't want to miss it.
They've all been wild,
Get me
John.
on the hook for that watch time.
Started.
I
Because
like that every single one too. He starts with, "This is a wild one. Get ready." That's the disclaimer. There's
See?
a court mandated disclaimer in every single FNAF theory that you will ever watch. It's like, this one's gonna be controversial.
Sounds crazy.
This is a wild one, or
Yep.
you're gonna hate me, but get ready. Strap in, friendos.
Because of the way FNAF gained popularity, Scott has had to tell the story of FNAF backwards. He didn't know
Yep.
that FNAF 1 would be as popular as it was, and he
Yep.
definitely didn't have a story planned out.
You know, I did not.
That's why we have talked about, like, you have to take things from the first few games with a grain of salt. Because it was flying by the seat of his pants.
Have the entire story planned out. Oh, you know, he's some kind of mad genius that had, you know, 7 games planned out from the beginning. No, I didn't.
So we had to take
Fair.
the details from the first game and make them make sense in the second game. Details that he didn't think twice about when making the first FNAF game now had to make sense with the story he was crafting in the second game. If
Right, which I think we all know, we all kind of understand that, right? At this point, that doesn't need to be super explained. I think one of the biggest questions I have is, at this point in the franchise, right, is with Security Breach, and this is one of the reasons why we're asking you to do the survey down in the description, is at this point, it seems like there's been a new wave of fans coming into the franchise with Security Breach, with Ruin, with this kind of new era, especially with the traction that Five Nights at Freddy's has gotten with TikTok and shorts and things like that as well. Like, it's become one of these genres that people have just hopped into and might have been bubbling around, but might have missed the OG generation. And that's
Oh, we are.
one of the interesting traits
1.25.
of any franchise that has lasted.
This doesn't feel as
8
quick as the
years,
other one.
9 years at this point. I mean, for game theory, right? Like, I've been
More
doing it for 8
characters?
years.
Yeah, I don't know
Whoa,
what's...
this is crazy. But when I make references, like,
I don't
just
know
did,
what's about to go down.
Mario's 10 feet tall, you're like, what is that a thing? And or you might just be like, oh, he just said a phrase. But for those of you who've been around for 13 years,
It
you know
was
that's a
something.
reference to like the first big mistake or first big kind of like weird game theory moment of like I did the math and everything in my math is like, oh, this is right, this is right, this is right, but never actually stopped to question like, oh, does that actually make sense as a conclusion though? Or was there a better way that I could have like solved this problem? Or does realism check out against like the actual pixel math that I was doing? But you wouldn't know, right? If I cite like, oh, Link is dead, or you know, and like the
Great
companion
theory.
cube is people or whatever. Like those were iconic.
Link is dead is a
for their time,
great
especially
theory.
Early game theory, right? But you might not be aware of those.
It's a great
those
video.
might be completely new, and that is a lost history. And so one of the things I'm wondering at this point is, to me, who's been with this franchise since the early days, it's like, oh yeah, obviously he's had to tell the story backwards because he's always backfilling in what came before, kind of. But you know, for new fans, do you know that? People who just hopped on for Security Breach?
If Scott wants a detail from the past games to mean something, he has to make it mean something. And I think he's doing that right now with the circus. In my last video, I told you about all of the connections to circus and carnivals recently. There was this found in the game files of Ruin that says something cool that maybe foreshadows Carnival. We've got the carnival-themed mascot costumes in Ruin.
Yep.
Patriots watching.
I'm gonna scream.
With Pepsi.
Pepsi's gross.
Epilogues of the Tales books, and we've got a circus happening in the background in Fury's raid.
Yeah,
That's
Tom
true.
and I reacted to that one. If you haven't seen it, that's on the channel. It was a good theory. I think it was a really solid theory. I think he's totally right in calling out that like circus babies.
I must
Like, I
have
think
saw
the
one.
whole franchise recognizes that the whole circus babies era is something that has been largely glossed over,
Yep.
underutilized,
Yep.
and because it exists in this point in the timeline that no one really can pinpoint when it was, right? It's always been, even when we were doing our final timeline, it's always existed in this like frustrating part where no one can say like, oh, it's obviously after game 2 or after game 3 or in this era. It is this nebulous concept. Maybe it's the first, you know, Elizabeth getting scooped, right? Is it the first game? Is it the first event? Is it the second event? Is it a fourth event?
I don't know, man.
Like, there's a lot of things,
I don't know.
and we know what happens, and we know how important it is, and we know a lot of the domino effects, but how it slots into that early timeline is very confusing, and I think the more and more backfilling the story has gotten in this franchise, almost the earlier and earlier sister location and, like, the circus and all this stuff has gotten pushed and pushed and pushed, until it's almost like competing with Fredbear's Family Diner now is, like, one of the initial moments, which is really interesting.
The thing that really pisses me off is like, this is not a canon game. Like, why did you have to? Why do you have to add these things? Just to
Called
fuck with
out,
us?
all these details that call out to the circus. One that he does not mention here, or it seems like when he hasn't talked about yet, is Balloon Circus, which is if you see online or if you go to like a GameStop or anything like that, there are these little figurines, like pop figures. I think they're pop figures. That are the characters in balloon outfits. Hold balloons, kind of dressed as Balloon Boy, but it's Freddy, Chica, all of them, but kind of looking more like Balloon Boy aesthetic, which again is pointing at this idea of, hey, were Fredbear or Freddy and the gang at Circus Babies, and hey, that whole BB's Balloon World, the little mini game that you play in.
Thanks, I hate it.
Is that a reference to that early day, and were they at a circus? Yeah, the circus theme has been
Yeah.
very strong.
That maybe foreshadows Carnival. We've got the
But that's
Carnival
an additional one to add. Like, hey, there's a lot of circus stuff coming down the line.
themed mascot costumes in Ruin.
Circus themes mascots. This is an interesting one. One other thing that I'm working through the new book right now that just released late last week, and in it I start with the epilogue just because the epilogue is probably one of the more important ones. We know that there's a lot of we know there's a lot about the mimic in there, and the new epilogue talks about the costumes, these hanging costumes that he's talking about, and there's 11 of them, and it very specifically calls out there are 11 of these costumes, and you learn about the different ones that are in there. It's really noteworthy that the last two remaining, and this is not in a theory, but it probably will end up in a theory at some point. But you know, the girl, in order
Bear
to
and a bunny?
survive the mimic attacking her, she has to destroy these 11 costumes so that only one's remaining, and the one that remaining is the Jester Springlock outfit that she hopes will springlock the robot and defeat it, right?
Oh.
And she only gets through 9 of the costumes, right? She destroys 9 of them. The last 2 remaining are the Jester Springlock outfit and a tiger. And you know, it's a tiger, and it's an old tiger. So one tiger is a carnival animal.
Tiger
That's
rocks.
interesting, because you have the tigers jumping through hoops and things like that in the olden carnivals, older circuses. I mean, one of the iconic animals. Same thing with elephants. But also, I think it's interesting because that also harkens back to Tiger Rock, right? Why only the Jester and the Tiger as the last 2 suits remaining out of this story? Like, why do they call out that these are the 2 that are left? Why are these the ones that don't get
Because
destroyed
Scott hates
when all
us.
the other ones get destroyed? It goes back to kind of our AI theory, where we're like, hey, there does seem to be some sort of weird connection here between Tiger Rock as this AI entity in the Pizzaplex and Baby. You know,
Right.
is Baby and the tiger, the puppet, whatever that is, one and the same? Are they competing forces? Whatever. It shows a connection there. It shows a duality. And I think, again,
just wanna
as you kind of
like,
symbolically read these
tie
stories and
Scott
clues
Cawthon
that are
to a
being fused
chair.
into some of these narratives, you have that again, right? Where for some reason, the authors of these stories, and Scott, in kind of designing what these stories need to, like, what are the key beats that these stories need to accomplish, the 2 that remain, Jester, so Baby, that's very clear, 1-to-1, and the tiger, for some reason. Why is the tiger the one left over? And, you know, you know, you can kind of figure out what it is and track it, but those are the little pieces and those are the little threads that we're always, like, looking at, trying to connect, and as I read, I'm like, why is that detail there? There's a lot of weird stuff.
God, I am
There's
so
also a
fucking
story in here that's
paranoid.
a lot about Burn Trap, I feel like. B7 talks about removing like the robotic parts as one entity from a human being and then putting them.
The thing about being obsessed with horror shit is that when you face 2 black void-like doorways, you see shit.
There, and it's all the animatronic parts are still there and they operate, but now it's connected with sinews and muscle and it's like, that's clearly what Burn Trap was meant to be. So it seems like there might be a story in here talking a bit more about Burn Trap as well, or at least again in a symbolic sense. So,
I'm not allowed to have
it's
doors.
a good book. It's the last book of the Tales of the Pizzaplex, so it's obviously going to be an important one. A lot of details in there. I haven't gotten to the FNAF 4 one yet. Yes, Ash.
I have an idea.
Yes.
So the B-52s made the song Love Shack.
They also made the song Rock Lobster. Less appreciated, but sure.
I appreciate it now that I know that exists.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's unhinged.
A carnival was brought up in the epilogues of the Tales books, and we've got a circus happening in the background in
Yes, there are
Future Rage.
circuses!
I also explained that these new games seem to be telling a similar story to the Silver Eyes trilogy.
Fair.
And where that story ends is Circus Baby's Pizza World.
Yep.
It does end in that. It does end in there. Yes, that is correct. Fourth Closet ends in Circus Babies.
Themed restaurant. All signs are pointing to that we're probably heading to some sort of circus in the future. And the only circus-themed place we know of in this franchise is Circus Baby's Pizza World. The only place we've ever seen Circus Babies is in the Silver Eyes trilogy. And the Silver
Not to be confused with Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals, slightly different subsidiary offshoot. Which is just the catchiest phrase ever there.
Which, I mean,
something.
yeah, I guess I've never thought about it. Because I don't have the books. That could be what she's talking about. When she says you're in something that came from my old pizzeria. Oh my god, I hate this franchise. Is she saying now that Circus Baby's Pizza is also in the game universe as opposed to the
Very clear. The theme
John.
of Circus Babies is clowns. There are clowns
Circus.
everywhere in this place. Clowns on the walls,
Yes.
people dressed up as clowns, clown animatronics.
Yep.
Scott obviously wanted to drill this into our heads. Keep that in mind for later. During my search for
Locked.
more proof
Ready.
regarding Circus Baby's Pizza World, I immediately thought of the circus gallery in the sister location bunker.
Okay.
Okay.
Remind me of the different rooms here again. Yeah, there's circus control.
Which is always a room that we only see
Yeah, there's
twice.
the Ballora gallery. It's funny to me that Ballora just has her own whole thing.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
Ballora just gets all of it to her. There's a Fun Time.
It's all
one,
weird.
Which you would think, like, oh, that's where Funtime Foxy and Funtime Freddy go, and then you just got Ballora. Just,
Yeah.
I guess I've never really stopped to think about it. I've never considered this, and this is actually something that's interesting to me as I look at this, right? Is the idea of Ballora and Baby are looped into the Fun Times because they have a similar design, and they all came out at the same era, right? But, like, it's not Funtime Ballora. Well, what I'm saying, though, is, like, there's a Funtime it's the separation of them is interesting. You have the Funtime Auditorium. So that would be Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, Funtime
And
Chica. We know
you got
Funtime
Chica, yeah.
exists, right? There's a Funtime version of all those originals. But Ballora,
Purina One, we switched.
Yeah, Ballora's her own thing. I mean, it could be because... I mean, we posited that Ballora is a stand-in for Afton's wife. And Baby was created for Elizabeth.
has her own thing.
So they were meant to be like
Baby
real people,
has her own
whereas
thing. It is interesting
Freddy
that
and
they're not
Foxy
separate.
are
Like,
just
why does
recurring.
Ballora get her own gallery? You know, the thing that's always bothered me, though, is if this is meant to be an entertainment and rental space that exists underground and not like a repurposed pizza place, then why should she have her own gallery with a stage? Like, they have a stage and stuff. So is this a repurposed restaurant, or is this an actual underground bunker? That is always kind of confusing.
That's
The
also
design
fair.
of this whole thing, notwithstanding the fact that it's also built underneath someone's house. That is also a weird. There's a lot of weird details about Circus Baby.
This location is rough.
But the one is like, is this actually like a restaurant? Like, were people going to Ballora Gallery to watch a Ballora dance? Were they going to the Funtime Auditorium to watch the Funtime? And we're like in the. Is this like the inside out? Like, this is the exterior, and we're in the control room that goes to each of them. Or is this actually an underground
I'm
bunker
seeing
that
things
was
in the
built?
darkness.
Like, is there a restaurant around here to the outskirts, or is this actually a storage unit? Because the way it's built, right? I'm going to the Ballora Gallery to watch Ballora perform. I'm going to the Funtime Auditorium to watch the Funtimes do their show. And then over here, or something over here, unmapped, but does exist, is a restaurant. I don't know. I've always wondered that. There's no evidence to prove one way or the other. I will say that Fourth Closet does say that there is obviously there's actually Circus Baby's restaurant. There's a whole thing. But is
Yeah.
that, you know, is this underneath that and then they come up? How are they connected?
I mean, there's an elevator.
In the sister location bunker. This is the main room that Circus Baby
So you
was
have to
being
come
held
down.
in, but based on it being called the Circus Gallery, I'm guessing there were also a bunch of things from Circus Baby's Pizza World in that room. In my last video, I told you that the Circus
Okay.
Gallery is connected right to Fredbear's Family Diner, and I explained why I think the FNAF 6 pizzeria is Fredbear's Family Diner.
Yeah,
I
Yep.
said that the
Cool.
alleyway
I think that's a fair guess, and again, that's one of those things I think a lot of people have added to their personal canon because there's a lot of evidence to suggest that.
Easter eggs in FNAF 6 look just like the alleyway where Charlie was killed, and the whole point of the game is upgrading and reusing an old pizzeria. Fredbear's Family Diner was owned by Henry, so it would only make sense that he would reuse the restaurant he already owns.
Fredbear's Family Diner was owned by Henry. Do we know that?
No.
Is that for sure? Is that from the books?
No, I don't know.
I mean, it was like Fredbear's Family Diner was owned by Henry. I know Charlie in the books, and again, this is me just. I'd have to revisit this, but I know Charlie's like, oh, that was my dad's old pizzeria, and I believe it's I believe it's always referred to as co-owned by Henry and William. Do we ever know for sure that Henry for sure owns this one, and is it always referred to as co-owned? I would like to.
I mean, we do know that he revamps it with a bunch of burners to burn everybody. So, I mean,
Question that.
I would say maybe eventually he owns it at some point.
Not 100% sure on that one. I think that one
But-
needs to be double checked.
But that's where I left it. I had no more proof. Until I found something that's been right in front of our faces for years now. During the
Okay.
office gameplay of FNAF 6, if you turn everything off, you can actually hear the restaurant operating. You can literally...
Are you hearing something that I'm not, Ash? What are you
I'm hearing ominous music after everything shuts off,
Ominous music?
and a little clank.
You can literally...
Yeah, that's fair.
No, I believe because I've listened to this before. So we're because to me the ominous music or like I guess that's you hearing it through the walls.
Yeah, well, because this is... It says at the beginning of your shift, while everyone's doing their thing, you have
It's
to...
supposed to be at night.
No, it's not.
Guard. Yeah, I guess. Okay.
No.
I
No, no. Matt? Telling you. You're wrong. FNAF. Yeah, simulator. It's one of the few games where the shift is daytime. It's a daytime shift. Day 1. Nighttime, daytime. I think that's still... Day 1. I think that's still a, I think it's
The best time to get a
ND? NT?
Reese's
I don't remember.
anytime.
I think ND. It's a night day. Yeah!
Hey, what's up?
Okay. Okay. I don't know if he's just gonna skip through the thing. It's DJ Star, so he probably does. Oops.
In the other room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have to do this again.
This
All
is
right.
the night one.
The restaurant is now officially open.
Yeah.
Awesome. That doesn't mean your job is finished, however. You have a lot of work to do while patrons eat their pizza in the other room. From your terminal, you have...
Yeah.
See?
it's very to say like, oh, we hear the restaurant operating. Yeah, is that a surprise? Like I think it's always been the simulator, right? Like that's kind of the whole point.
The kids playing, indicating that the office gameplay area is connected directly to the restaurant.
Sure.
This is further proven by the drawings on the walls. These drawings feature characters we see in FNAF 6. We see the Rockstar animatronics and even Lefty. But there's one drawing of a character that isn't featured in FNAF 6 at all.
The clown.
Fredbear. Why would there be a
Oh.
drawing of Fredbear in this office? Well, it's because this place used to be Fredbear's.
The hell of a
I
stretch.
question that. Here's the thing about one, they're just drawings, right? From a broad
is-
spectrum.
As much as I hate FNAF 6. I love and hate FNAF 6. It's a whole... He does have the... He's got the cheeks.
I say they're just drawings, and the internet's like, oh, but everything has meaning, and there's no such thing as coincidences. Drawings are different from like things that are intrinsic to the space, right? It's not like it's a hard-coded poster on the wall for FNAF 6 or whatever, because there's a baby picture on the wall too, right? A spooky baby picture. I mean, look at what you just called out. You called out that there is Lefty on the wall. Lefty doesn't exist as a animatronic in this pizzeria until you bring him in through salvage on night like what, 2 or 3.
No.
So
No. You can buy Lefty. You can buy Lefty. He's super expensive and his liability is 9, I believe, but you can buy Lefty. Because then, I think you get him on night 3, I think he's right. So if you have bought him already and you get to night 3, when you go to do the whole, we found this out in the alley, it's just a sign saying I'm already inside. Matt, I'm proving you wrong. Here, the catalog. Yeah, he's absolutely in the... Buyable, yes. Yeah, because he's only $5. But his liability is maxed. Because he's insane. See? I know things.
clearly this space is a collection, and this room, right, is meant to be like, oh.
Anyway, the point I'm proving is... So what John's saying is... Everything you see on the wall are animatronics that a kid would be able to draw pictures of because they're there in front of him. But Fredbear isn't. And Matt's counterpoint is neither is Lefty. So how would they get a picture of Lefty? Because that this is night I assume, night 1. You already have a picture of Lefty if you don't get Lefty till night 3. But you can. Well, yeah, but he's in the catalog. So you can... Because, like, well, you start out with 0. But that's going too far into mechanics. I've totally lost the plot here. John's right, though, is the point we're getting to. Is how would a kid be able to draw a picture of Fredbear? Fredbear's not there. I'm not saying that he's right about this being originally the diner. But he has a good point. That Matt is not getting because Matt has false information. Because Matt has forgotten that you can buy Lefty. You cannot buy Fredbear.
I see all the characters that I'm ultimately like collecting, or this kind of like back history of everything. The fact that there's a picture of Golden Freddy here, or sorry, Fredbear here, doesn't necessarily mean that, like, oh, this is one and the same place, and also...
I want to comment. I'm very tempted to comment. Matt forgetting that you can buy Lefty.
FNAF franchise over an extended period of time.
But if this place used to be Fredbear's, like I said earlier, Fredbear's was connected directly to the circus gallery. And what if I told you that there's one more drawing in this office that doesn't belong? If you look to your right and turn up the brightness, you can see a clown poster. The one thing heavily associated with circus babies.
But again, like,
I fucking hate this thing.
Draw circus babies to us, right? Like, I get that she's not present in there, but also this is an employee-only location, and I don't necessarily see this as like, oh well, they are absolutely one-on-one connected. I agree. The point of the FNAF 4 location.
I want to stop looking at the clown.
Sister location through the map, 100%. I think that's undeniable. I would disagree with this point of evidence as like, oh, they must have all been in this place.
So
I don't think so. I think I'm in between on the two of these here. Because he's right. Why would a kid draw a picture of a clown if there were no clowns? He would have to see a clown. Yes, we are trying to pull in Baby, but... like, you can buy Balloon Boy. I'm barely certain. And there are other... you know what? I've never thought about this. Because I've never been settled into that clown being representative of Baby, like everyone says. There are fucking clowns in Pizzeria Simulator. There's the out of fucking nowhere punch clown, and the other one, FNAF 6 clowns. Yeah. So technically, I mean, it's different, but I don't like when I'm ahead of Matt on stuff, because then I have to figure it out. And it hurts my brain. My brain is completely shutting down. But yeah, there are clowns already, which I've never understood. And kids would have access to Lefty. They would have access I mean, it's not 100%, but they could see this and draw this. They have access to clowns. Again, they do not have access to Fredbear.
That this place is directly connected to the circus gallery. But
that's
unclear.
different. Like, if you're saying, oh, this draw, you're taking the same piece of evidence, but you're making it mean two different things. If that makes sense. And I think that that's one of those tricks, right? Is a picture being here means that this animatronic has been in this location.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, you can have that, but then to say like, oh, and the fact that Circus Baby is here, but she's over in this other building connected, it weakens it a little bit. I get the point. I don't.
I'm just gonna let things play for a while.
I think you are on the right track, and I think the map shows that. I think this is actually one of those points that kind of weakens it. Because also I would question then, why is it a scary? You know, why is it a scary clown when Freddy is, or a Fredbear is a normal drawing, right? Why are all the other pictures normal, but you have scary babies in there? Like, it's a very different style of art. So how would you explain that? I think would be the counter argument I would have to a lot of that.
But are we sure that this clown represents circus babies? I mean, there
No.
was a Lemonade and Fruit Punch clown in FNAF 6, so it could just be a creepy drawing of one of them. I needed a little more proof.
See,
And
again,
while researching, I could...
See, he calls out the Lemonade and Fruit Punch clowns, right? And I think that right there shows you why I'm a little bit skeptical about this evidence point, is because the FNAF 6
With HPE
This is
Green
why you
Lake,
just
we
let
have
things
access
play.
to
Well, some ads are like a bottom level volume, and some are fucking
this
maxed.
point, right, is a trap to lure in all these other animatronics. And what Henry is doing, what I would assume Henry is doing by laying out this trap, right, is because you buy the animatronics and the different things that you're putting into this pizzeria simulator,
Yep.
this simulated pizzeria to draw the animatronics in. What you're doing is you're buying different pieces and parts from various catalogs. You're getting them from scrap heaps. You're getting them from like old retailers of retro animatronics.
Alternatively, you know what else I'm thinking of? Because ADHD, the opening of FNAF 6, before you even get into it, I can't remember. No, it's not, because it's just regular Freddy. It's not. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking of this guy, and I'm like, if somehow the kid is drawing this guy, but it's black. It's not Fredbear.
So what you're doing is you're collecting a bunch of pieces and parts from the history of animatronics, both Fazbear and other. That's how you get the mediocre melodies in there. That's how you get Fruit Punch and stuff. And I think what you're led to believe here, and I think what we've started to figure out all these years later, is that was, you know, you collecting almost like a history of these animatronics. So I would say Fruit Punch Clown, and Lemonade are probably from Circus Babies, and they were sold off at some point because they weren't important, they weren't possessed, they weren't anything special, and so they're like, oh, we don't need these anymore. In fact,
Yeah, that's kind of what I've said before too. Like there's, like Balloon Boy. There's a bunch of different circus-ish animatronics that are just around in different
and
places.
now you're kind of buying them back to bring them back in. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually what's going on here, but it showcases that FNAF 6 is really this weird conglomeration of a lot of different influences from all the different restaurants across the whole series.
I could have sworn that I've seen a similar clown poster before. The
Yeah,
first instance of a clown showing up in this franchise that I can remember was in the first
also
real
in
teaser
Hope
we got for FNAF 6, where we see Scrap Baby in an alleyway with a clown on the wall, further solidifying the connection between clowns and circus babies. The next time we see a clown in this franchise is in Lefty's secret alleyway cutscene in FNAF 6. On the wall, we see a poster that's meant to represent the Apton family. We've got William and Michael, the crying child as a bear with sharp teeth for obvious reasons, and then a clown to represent Elizabeth, aka Circus Baby. This clown has a wide smile and is wearing green and purple pants. This clown is actually featured again in Scrap Baby's cutscene on a different poster. The same clown with the green and
this was them making a very clear connection.
purple pants, once again being associated with Circus Baby. This same poster can be found in the Ultimate Custom Night office as well, and it seems to be advertising a circus, which is presumably Circus Baby's Pizza World.
I mean, I was just reading it. It does say you don't want to miss it. But one, that looks creepily written after it. What is this, though? Cause it's not. Frick, what's the name of the festival? Now I'm blanking. Not Oktoberfest. Fearfest? No. Fest? No. What was the name of the goddamn... Regardless, it doesn't end in fest. Ugh, now it's gonna bother me. This is gonna be a Steam. It's not gonna really help me out here. Jesus Christ. I don't think I've ever seen this trailer though, to be fair. It's not gonna even show the banner I need, so. Oh no, I think I have seen this. It's a very good DLC. It's not gonna show it. FNAF Halloween Tea Festival. Here we go. It's so good. What is the name of the goddamn festival? There we go. Hold on to the images. Fall Fest. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it says Fall Fest.
On a different poster. The same
solidifies-
clown with the green and
Yeah, this was them making a very clear.
Well, in a very awful way. That's an A.
connection.
purple pants, once again being associated with Circus Baby. This same poster can be found in the Ultimate Custom Night office as well, and it seems to be advertising a circus, which is presumably
Okay, it's
Circus
definitely not
Baby's
Fall
Pizza
Fest.
World.
That's like a
The
K
poster
or an
features
H.
the clown, an
Hates
elephant,
hat.
and the words "You don't want to miss it." There's also some other letters at the top of this poster in purple and
Yeah,
green that I can't seem to make out.
Oh,
Hat.
what would that be? Ha? Hat? Hat?
My first instinct was fatality.
hat.
So, you know.
Has to be an H, right? I'm
Cat
sorry,
of-
that's not really any other letter. Watch could be a
Because
like
this
very
looks kind of like
strangely
it could be a
written W.
TY, but this
I
could
know it's
also
an
be a
anti
T.
for sure. It's not a C though, so it wouldn't be watch. Ha ha ha. I know. And then it looks like it ends with a TY.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So if you have any idea what this says, let me know in the comments below. For years now, we've all assumed that Circus Baby's Pizza World features Circus Baby and probably the Fun Times too. But I think what these posters and the Silver Eyes trilogy were trying to tell us was that it was much more than that. Previously, I told you that the circus-themed mascot costumes we see at the end of Ruin actually showed up in the Silver Eyes trilogy first.
Yeah, that's true. They also talk about, and again, like going back to Tales of the Pizzaplex, they actively call out, like, oh, there's a blackbird, there's an elephant, there's... They keep going back to this mushroom, and that's one of the weird ones. One of the most important suits that the Mimic keeps going back to and wearing is this mushroom, and I don't know why. And that one's weird.
I haven't put my
a lot
mushroom
of them
lights
are very
up.
directly one for one, like, oh, the Jester is Baby, and oh, the Tiger Rock.
But I bought
is,
mushroom
You
lights.
know, this Tiger Rock just plays off in a lot of different Tales of the Pizzaplex for a lot of different reasons. They say the blackbird, I believe they call out the elephant at one point. There's a big blue dog that they go back to a couple times. There's a rodent. But the one that the Mimic really is drawn to is this mushroom character, which I think is very odd. It's a very odd detail. Yeah.
The mushrooms.
Go
The
ahead.
glowing
If you
mushrooms in the
consider,
cave.
like how a fungus can spread,
Yeah.
right? They kind of work in networks.
Oh, so you think it's... Oh, that's an interesting interpretation. Because this whole time, like, when they're talking about the costumes, I keep thinking about, like, oh, yeah, it's, you know, this is one for one, this is one for one. But you're thinking the mushroom is actually more symbolic of what it does as an entity and spreads out.
That's my thought.
That's interesting.
I mean, I would say being around glowing mushrooms, it would be more
I like
familiar with
that,
the mushrooms.
actually. Because
Right?
this whole time I'm like, why? It's everything in this franchise thus far is animal themed or humanoid. You know, you have either clowns or animals. That's always it, right? And so for them to call out like, oh, there is a mushroom costume, and I'm like, why would there be a plant or fungus in this case costume? And yeah, maybe it is more of a symbolic thing of like, oh, this is a fungus
I don't
that
think so.
spreads, or this is like a virus almost that spreads. That's interesting.
I mean, it's either that or he's been playing a lot of Super Mario.
He is very excited for Mario Wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we all are, honestly, as we all are. Good call out. I like that.
This trilogy first, and that these costumes were used to foreshadow us going to Circus Baby's Pizza World in the next book. And considering we get a literal elephant costume dressed up like a clown in Ruin, just like how we get an elephant on the poster for Circus Babies, I can only assume that the games are headed in the same direction. And the idea that there were more than just the...
Again, this went back to everyone's conclusions of that last game, which is like, hey, we're going down to Circus Baby, like this area is connected to Circus Babies. There's a scooper, there's all these costumes, all that stuff. I don't know if it's necessarily we're going there. I think there's a high likelihood. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it does feel like we're leading more heavily into like, hey, let's figure out what sister location actually is. Like, let's dive into that part of the story so we can actually address it.
Fun times at Circus Baby's Pizza World isn't new. One of the biggest unsolved mysteries in FNAF history has to do with Night 4 of Sister Location. The suit that Baby puts us into has remained a mystery to this day. We learned that it came from Baby's old pizzeria, aka Circus Baby's Pizza World.
You're inside something that came from my old pizzeria.
It's been so hard to figure out what this is because it's unlike anything we've seen in this franchise. The suit seems to have faceplates, just like the Funtime animatronics, but it's definitely not as high-tech. The suit also seems more handmade, with the inside of it almost having a leather texture.
That's interesting. It is, I guess, more of a leathery texture. Yeah, I would say that.
It's golden.
There's like a metal, but yeah, it's not really a metal that would do that. Yeah, you would have kind of like these leather and then rivets and things. That's interesting.
It's like
I've also always, I mean, I know that there's been a lot of analysis done on this mask, and it is important to figure out. I feel like this has always felt like a Chica beak, though. It has it has that
Toy Chica.
Her eyes kind of have that shape. That's always the kind of like working headcanon that I've worked with. But yeah.
Toy Chica's head doesn't split unless he retconned that, but it would explain why she doesn't have her beak, because her face splits open, and the beak would be right where all the. I want to scream. Yeah, no, at least it didn't before. But she's missing her beak. This. I cannot tell you how much I hate to say it. The eye shape's different. But. That's the first thing I would think of, is because of the mouth.
Her eyes kind of have that shape. That's always the kind of like working headcanon that I've worked with. But yeah.
It's like this is an older version of the Fun Times, but more handmade, and more like an actual costume. Like I said, this is unlike anything we've seen in this franchise, is what I was saying, until I did a little more digging.
Oh boy.
Before Security Breach came out, some official concept art of Scott's designs got posted online.
Oh boy.
This is the concept art. Upon first glance,
I have not seen this. That's interesting. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, these are by Lady Fizzy, who does the artwork for the books. I think the books, right?
Looks like the book,
but they are
kind
Scott
of.
Cawthon, like they are dictated by him, right, and copyrighted by him. That's interesting. Okay.
These look like mascot costume versions of Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica.
Oh, that's funny. Huh. Oh, I think I see where this is going. Yeah.
But if you look closer, you can see that these aren't just costumes. These are costumes with faceplates and stomach hatches.
Is that a different?
Look
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
Mascot costume versions
That's cool.
of Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. But if you look closer, you can see that these aren't just costumes. These are costumes.
Yeah, he
with
retcons the
faceplates and
suits
stomach hatches.
for the graphic novel.
Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that's absolutely Chica. Look, there's like half moon mouth.
Yep.
The big old eyes. Yeah, Chica has those kind of like big old eyes. Huh. That's really interesting. And the stomach actually you can climb into. What was this for? So this was just concept art? Fascinating.
Just like the Fun Times. These are literally older versions of the Fun Times.
Sure.
Just like the suit we were put
That's
into
cool.
on Night 4.
Yes,
Sister
I agree with
Location.
that.
The faceplates are even placed in a similar way to the costume we see on Night 4.
Yes, absolutely.
Them
100%.
appearing on the front of the face separate from the rest of the head. But the
Yeah.
suit on Night 4 was a Springlock suit.
I'd recommend that you keep the spring locks wound up.
Right.
Does that
You don't want
also
them to
mean
get
these
too
are Springlock
loose.
suits? Well, like I said in
You
my
could.
last video, Charlie describes Springlock suits in the Silver Eyes trilogy by saying, I think they were costumes. Sometimes people wore them, and sometimes my father put them onto the robots. Which means that Springlock suits can be worn by humans, but also put onto endoskeletons.
Yeah, that's fair.
I still
here's
like
the thing,
that.
like, right, these are
But I get
big
it.
and bulky enough that makes sense. So yes, 100%. Like I look at that and I'm like, oh, that feels like a mascot outfit, but you could have a robot in there to, things spring out and attach to its body or whatever.
And
Yeah.
if you zoom in close on the top right of this image, you can see an endoskeleton wearing the mascot costume.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lean cuisine.
Add, please. I barely eat as it is. Let me live. Oh. Tell me something. Really? 2 back-to-back lose weight ads? Thanks.
I think the costume on Night 4 is one of these characters. Maybe, but probably not. I think a costume that's in this style that is more circus-themed would be a better fit.
Uh-huh.
Maybe.
Go on.
Yeah, it literally, this is one of those reasons why I haven't focused on who like who is that animatronic? Like why is what suit is that? I think we know it's a Springlock suit. We know it came from Circus Babies, and so it connects the idea of Springlock to Circus Baby. The Who actually doesn't make quite as much of a difference. If it's Chica, then yeah, maybe it does make a bit more of a difference because it means that there's a clown Chica, or Chica appeared in Circus Babies at some point. So yeah, I think that's pretty solid.
Things are so much easier when our only Springlocks were Golden Freddy and Springtrap.
There's never been enough to prove that that suit is one thing or another, which is why I've kind of stayed away from it from a theorizing perspective, because it's like, it's all speculation and about the face shape and this and that. Like, yeah, you can draw some rough parallels, but outside of like, hey, that's similar to the beak shape, and oh, that's similar to the eye shape. That's about all you have to go off of. I think it's an interesting single point, but without any other evidence of like, oh, Chica's and Circus Babies is harder. But I do like, but yeah, it connects the idea of Springlocks in Babies.
Since Baby said that the costume came from her old pizzeria, which was a circus-themed place. What I think these costumes are way more important than the one on Night 4. In the story The Mimic from the Tales books, we learn about Edwin, who is a robotic genius hired by Fazbear Entertainment to turn a bunch of random mascot costumes into actual
Mushroom and
animals.
Jester.
This is the RSL we're used to.
First off, there's the editing that I know about it, John. Like, this back to the wheelhouse. Secondly, I said at the beginning of this episode that everyone is court mandated to do a disclaimer at the beginning of their episode where it's like, oh, I got a theory and it's a wild one or it's a wacky one. Other court mandated FNAF thing at this point is anytime you talk about the new books, you have to give you the backstory of Edwin. 100% requirement. Like, everyone's like, still talking about these books, can't assume that people know the backstory of Edwin, who may or may not be Henry, parallels, whatever. Gotta tell you everything about this guy again. Also, did you know he had a kid who died? Whoa! That's one of those fun factoids that we're all required to say.
Animatronics. And during the story, Scott made an effort to point out which animatronics Edwin was creating.
Yes, they do
Edwin
call
was
this out. I
turning
think this is interesting. He makes the core four, right?
the following mascot costumes into animatronics. Quote, a brown Freddy Fazbear, a bright yellow chick, a blue bunny, and a pirate fox.
Yeah.
This is the first time we learned that the main four animatronics we see in the games didn't start as animatronics. They started as mascot costumes and were turned into animatronics.
Yeah, this is actually, and again, this goes back to our original timeline, where I'm like, hey, the beginning of this franchise and the beginning of Fazbear and these characters started as mascot outfits that you could wear. And if you go back to our like ultimate timeline for Parter, right? It was a lot of speculation, but also I thought there was a decent amount of evidence to suggest this.
Yes, sir.
So
it was like the
we were
60s.
going back to like Fredbear's singing show and this and that, where it's like, how are you tracking the evolution of this franchise? And this actually supports that idea of like they all started as just costume characters that walk around somewhere, and then bit by bit you figure out ways to systematize it and turn it into something else, which is cool. It's a really believable evolution in the technology.
And I believe that these, or something similar to these, were those mascot costumes that later got turned into the four main animatronics we see in the game.
Maybe not one for one, and I would challenge that transition, because that shows that it's like, oh, these are exactly the same. I think these are the animatronic versions. I think what you're calling out, Sean, is maybe a transitional point or a midway point, right? Where I'm a mascot, I start off as just a person putting on a mascot head and walking around in a suit like a mascot at a baseball game, right? And then there's that midpoint of, well, we have a mascot suit that can also be a robot, and then maybe that's that. And then you get to this point where now they're fully automated. One of the two, right? Either they go fully automated first and then they're Springlock, or vice versa. But it's an evolutionary process. I would not say that those guys in the artwork are the exact same as those, and I wouldn't do a cross transition there because I worry that sends kind of like too strong of a message of like these are the same thing.
And you probably know by now that I think Edwin is a parallel to Henry. A big reason for why I believe this is because Henry was the one who created the main four animatronics, not Edwin. Henry says this in FNAF 6.
The loss of innocence, the loss of everything to so many people. Small souls trapped in prisons of my making, now set to new purpose.
Yeah, right, his making.
The thing about Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy starting as mascot costumes is something I don't see talked about a lot. But what were these mascot costumes used for? There's currently no restaurant that we know of that's older than Fredbear's Family Diner. Well, I think that's because these costumes weren't being used at a restaurant. In the story The Mimic and Now in Ruin, we learn about a bunch of random mascot costumes featuring characters we've never seen. In the books, there's a mushroom costume, a gopher costume, a jester costume, and in the games, there's a bird and
For
a
the
lion.
Mimic.
I think these costumes are trying to tell us that the story of
The bird and the lion are also in the new book. I think there's a couple others as well, but yeah, they're all it's a weird mishmash of things.
FNAF started at a traveling carnival. This
interesting. So okay, sorry, that's important.
are trying to tell us that the story of
that makes more
FNAF
sense.
started at a traveling carnival.
Yeah, I would actually, yes, I think that makes sense.
This is further backed up in the Silver Eyes trilogy. When Charlie is going through Henry's workshop after his death, she finds a book about the history of the traveling carnival and of the circus. This is something that's never explained again in the whole trilogy. But I think Scott put that in there as a hint to how the story of FNAF began.
And this actually goes pretty close to, again, going back to our first part of our timeline, our mega timeline, right? Where I'm like, let's speculate about the very, very early days of this franchise and what would have started it. the Fredbear Singing Show, right?
Yeah.
Where we call out like it's black and white. The ticket cost is like 50 cents. They have the pie-eyed animation of like the 1930s.
It's
And
real
so,
old.
at the time, I'm like, oh, it's a local dancing bear show, because that was, you know, like dancing bears were a thing at that time, and that seems about right. It seems like a sort of local attraction sort of thing. I actually like the idea of it being a traveling show. That's
yeah.
smart. I think it's a cool fusion of my idea and kind of the new evidence.
And
we've
it
gotten
explains
since
some of the
release that
carnival
timeline.
shit.
So I like that. I think that's cool.
In Security Breach, there's one collectible that stands out from the rest. Fredbear's Singing Show.
Yeah!
I actually really liked how Matt.
That's the one.
Security Breach, there's one
New evidence.
that stands out from the rest.
Like, this is old shit. Just a local singing bear, though.
Fredbear's Singing Show. I actually really liked how MatPat interpreted this poster in his timeline videos. This poster is obviously.
This is John, man.
Nutella Be Ready is ready for.
Homicide. How you doing? The fuck is this?
Absolutely. I'd never turn my back.
Future problems.
FNAF John. Superb taste.
Very old, with it being in black and white, the ticket price only being 50 cents, the gramophone, and the pie-shaped eyes. I mean, this looks just like an old 1930s Mickey Mouse poster, with the same pie-shaped eyes and the same style of lettering. But the name of the poster doesn't sound like a restaurant, it sounds like an attraction.
Right, yeah, Fredbear Singing Show. It is a standalone thing, which is why I'm like, well, it has to be like either like a roadside attraction or like a one-off kind of like novelty, like the world's giant ball of yarn or whatever.
And I think this attraction was a part of the traveling carnival, and was where the story of FNAF began.
I think that's really a cool interpretation. I think it aligns with a lot of the stuff that we've seen since the release of that episode and since the release of Ruin. I think that helps a lot. I will say, and this is one of the things that because I was struggling with like, what do we do with Fredbears? Like, how do we fit this in? Like, how do I justify? Because it was one part evidence-based, but there's a lot of gaps in the early story that, especially back then, I'm like, wow, what evidence do we have to pull from? Music, food, and beverage. The food and beverage was the thing, and the fact that they're like, it says our local singing bear.
Same.
It was the food and beverage plus the local singing bear that got me to say it has to be a standalone thing.
Yeah.
I didn't consider that traveling, but
you work on your
looking
Kingdom Hearts
back
lore
on
presentation?
the reason I was really fixated on this being not a carnival show, but like a local attraction. Food and beverage.
That sounds
hard
fun.
to really serve if you're a traveling carnival. I guess you could bring like the popcorn stands and this and that, but food beverage makes me feel like it's a restaurant. But local singing bear, that's the thing. It says that this show is specific to a specific area. Right, it is the local bear. This is our thing. It is a regional thing, which is, again, if you're traveling, you can't really advertise it as like, visit our local bear.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a traveling show, local doesn't exist because you're moving to other people's locales, right? Minor thing, again, might be one of those things like is retcon or whatever, because I do like John's interpretation here. I like that a lot. But that is the one thing I'd say that's pretty strong evidence against it.
I think what the story The Mimic was trying to tell us was that Fazbear Entertainment bought out the traveling carnival, and they started turning the mascot costumes from that carnival into animatronics for their new restaurants. The main 4 animatronics stayed together and formed Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, but the goofier costumes were reused for Circus Baby's Pizza World, a circus-themed restaurant.
I don't know. Gopher and... this is where... I like the thought process, but it feels a bit reductive of the evidence that we've been given.
Of the story that we have so far.
There's a lot of evidence to suggest that the mediocre melodies, Ned Bear especially, are rip-offs or copies or attempts to kind of like capitalize off of the success of Freddy Fazbear. But we also know that the mediocre melodies are part of the Fazbear crew at a certain point. And so that indicates to me that at some point down the line there were copycats. Maybe even, and again, like we posited in episode 1 of our kind of timeline, maybe William did one route, Henry did the other route, and then they merged together or bought each other out or something like that, paralleling what we saw with real-world animatronic franchises.
All right, mediocre melodies, 182.
Funtime Pizza, Rockabilly, I forget the two, but basically there were 2 rival animatronic restaurants.
Mediocre melodies, animatronic animals, group of plastic animatronics. Plastic's important. Who appear in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Simulator. With the exception of Oriole Elephant, you can purchase them from the stand's budget text section. Buying all 5 unlocks a mediocre melodies achievement. Real imitations. What's interesting with the mediocre melodies is they're not part of the Freddy Fazbear or Circus Baby groups. They look like they might be a deliberate attempt to mimic the Fazbear animatronics. Happy Frog. Here's an idea that hasn't already been done at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza or any of its associated establishments. Huh. Oh, the fucking... So Mr. Hippo's whole thing is, like, he tells long stories, right? When he kills you in Ultimate Custom Night, he tells, like, a 5-minute story. So, of course, the fucking paragraph for him is a stupid story. Mr. Hippo, I met Mr. Hippo once. Anyway, he was in the pizzeria on stage where he usually is, and I asked him what that box behind him was. And he said, "What box?" I said, "That box." I said, "Gosh, I forgot it was there. There's an interesting story behind that box." The box being the battery packs behind the mediocre melodies. Sorry. Big patch. Da-da-da-da. Orville. I've always thought this was interesting because I remember this the first time I read this. Strangely, he does not mention Mr. Hippo in any of his jump scare lines. Maybe they're not such great friends after all, because every time Hippo tells a story, it's about fucking Orville. And then Ned Bear looks a little familiar. Is it possible he's an imitation of Freddy Fazbear, altered just enough to avoid any copyright issues? But he's wearing a regular tie instead of a bow tie, so obviously completely different. Yeah, that's all it says about the mediocre melodies.
Against each other, and then one eventually buys out the other, right? You had a very parallel story there. I get what you're going with the Jester, 100%. To say that there's a gopher and a mushroom at Circus Babies feels like we're trying to shoehorn evidence into places where it's like, that doesn't quite work, right? Like,
I mean, I would be okay with that, because... Not that I like anything that's happening here, because it's changing stuff. And I'm not really on board with the whole... I'm on board with the carnival. I'm not on board with the going into Circus Babies kind of deal. But if he's going to go into these things went into Circus Babies, and then some of these weirder outfits, like the mushroom and the gopher, were given for the Mimic, which is near the Scooper, under a security breach, which is a sister location item.
Why that... When you yourself, John, in the beginning of this episode, said, one thing that's been hit over the head at Circus Babies is clowns, humanoids, but then to say mushroom and gopher feels odd.
But not all of the mascot costumes were turned into animatronics. In the epilogues of the Tales books, we learned that this is the case. A lot of these mascot costumes were being held in the FNAF 6 pizzeria. And in the epilogues of the Tales books, it's only really the goofier costumes that were left in the FNAF 6 pizzeria. Those goofier costumes were still around, and I think were reused for Circus Babies Pizza World, and I think we were put into one of those on Night 4 of Sister Location.
Yeah, his context here in the upper corner is important.
The goofier costumes
because I think
that
this
were
is
left in
also
the FNAF 6
confusing.
pizzeria. Those goofier costumes were still around, and I think were reused for Circus Babies Pizza World, and I think we were put...
Yeah, a spring... So one of the things, I don't know if you're seeing it in the top, but one of the things that he's saying across... Oh, here, I can turn it down. There you go. One of the things that he's saying in these top little asterisk editor notes, Springlock 1, not the type that we saw in Ruin. Yeah, one of the things that's confusing about the stories and the epilogues is that, like I mentioned before, there's 11 suits. Why 11? I haven't thought through it, but the number's very clear and very important, right? It's very specific. But a lot of them are not animatronics. The Jester costume is an animatronic, or is a Springlock. But all the other ones are just normal mascot outfits, right? So even though there's 11 costumes that need to be destroyed that are in this old abandoned pizzeria underground that the Mimic wants to climb into the suits, only one of them that we know of, and I don't believe any of the other ones have been specifically called out as a Springlock. So not all of them are. And I think that's one of the inconsistencies and one of the challenges here is like, hey, this idea of these suits, especially these older suits, which were Springlocks, which weren't, were they all Springlocks? It's confusing.
Into one of those on Night 4 of Sister Location. I've suspected for a while now that Circus Baby is a key part of the story Scott and Steelwool are trying to tell. I've already gone over all of the evidence for why I think that's the case in my previous videos. But while researching for this video, I found something interesting. There's an Easter egg that's extremely rare in the Curse of Dreadbear DLC that's gone unexplained for years now. When you beat a minigame, you're taken to this area that looks like a birthday party.
This is so weird. This is one of those where I had to like quadruple check before
Yeah,
because I
because it doesn't look legit.
I had to quadruple check this one because I saw one video of it. I'm like, oh, is this real or is it? Because it's so hard to achieve, and I'm like, did someone just like make this for views?
It's so
it wouldn't be that
weird.
hard to necessarily like mod into the game. And nowadays with people modding in and photoshopping in and doing all these kind of like fake videos, you'd be like, I found a secret Easter egg, and it's like, oh, multi-million views, whatever. Like I never saw anyone replicate this, but I eventually discovered that yes, this is real.
Inside of a barn. Behind you and to the sides of you are posters, and by very rare chance, you can get 3 clown posters. And if you haven't,
yeah, it's super rare. The posters on the wall are randomized, and then not only do you have to get the posters on the wall, but
You have to get all 3 of them, and then you have to shoot.
Oh, he's not explaining. But not only do you have to get the posters on the wall, you then have to throw
a dart and hit
precisely at the posters to
and it makes the sound.
Clown poster as the one in FNAF 6, and we know that this.
Oh, he didn't talk about it. So what complicates this even more though is, and I don't think he's saying it.
It says it's
not
me.
Not only is the baby posters in there and you can get 3 of them, but then if you throw darts at all 3 of them, the whole thing switches to blacklight mode and it says it's me on the poster, which is a weird Golden Freddy reference. And so
yeah,
that's another complicated thing with this one. It's like uniting Baby and Golden Freddy. Maybe it's a fan of talking to each other. I don't know. It is strange.
Poster and clowns in general are heavily associated with circus babies. And when you pick up the darts and throw a dart at each poster, this happens.
Yeah.
A black light turns on, revealing it's me. This only happens with the clown posters.
Yep.
I think that the
It's
story
weird.
of Five Nights at Freddy's began with a traveling carnival, with the characters we all know and love starting as mascot costumes before being turned into actual animatronics and getting their own restaurants. But although Fazbear Entertainment bought out the carnival theme lived on with Circus Baby's Pizza World. There, they reused some of the old mascot costumes from the carnival. One of those costumes was the one we were put into on night 4 of Sister Location. I believe that this concept art is showing us the type of costume we were put into. But what costume that specifically was is a mystery I'm guessing we'll learn more about when we revisit the Sister Location bunker in Help Wanted 2. Subscribe if you enjoyed and
wait, what's the it's me though? Did that not go anywhere? Like I was waiting for that. He's like, there's this Easter egg that is. You were just calling it out as interesting. It didn't go anywhere, did it? Right? Did I miss that, Ash? That was an evidence piece that just.
It's kind of just like
here's
connecting more shit to
No,
clowns.
it didn't go anywhere, but I think he was like, we might be able to figure that out after Help Wanted 2.
Okay. Yeah, because again, the weird thing about that, right, is it's me seems to always be associated with Golden Freddy.
Golden Freddy,
right?
yeah.
That is.
And it's even it's in the original font.
To have a baby related thing activate it's me is
weird.
And so that's why I think you have to kind of like.
And it's the original.
Like, is it that they're just connected as a family, or it's an odd one? But yeah, that Easter egg is incredibly difficult to get, which is why it's tricky.
It's
Anyway,
from the
this
FNAF
said,
1 font. It's
I
the
didn't know
original
the character
pixel.
designs. I was not aware of those character design concepts, and that is really telling. I think that's a really cool idea.
So yeah, that's our that's my current madness. I'm not so sure about that one. I'm not so sure about all that. I like the carnival bit. Other than that, I think we got a lot to learn in Help Wanted 2. If it has as much content as the first one, we're gonna learn a lot of shit. And hate ourselves. But, yeah, that's it. That's stream. So I'll put this up on the YouTube channel. We are currently up to 5 achievements I have to get in Binding of Isaac during the anniversary stream. It's gonna be something. Fun stream. Thank you. I probably should have played a game, but also I really wanted to watch these. But yeah, hopefully if I'm feeling up to it, I'll stream. Well, it depends on how much, if I finish my homework in time. I have a lot of homework shit to do on Thursday. But I have there are 33 games in my horror folder. A couple of them I can't play because they're first person. Kind of leaning towards Crooked Man, because it's a classic. But also I'd have to read everything, so you know me and reading. But yeah, that's our stream. Go follow on YouTube. This will be up there within the next couple days. And yeah, you guys have a good one. Bye.